Welcome back, everybody, to the MEISTERSCHAFT. We have the grand finals today. I am Erebos, joined by Zua. Zua, how are you feeling? Because I am ready for this match.
I'm really excited. We already spoke about it yesterday. I really want this game to start. I really want to see where we are heading. Like, it's so exciting to will Panahune do what they did yesterday? Will Maestro Eska do what they did yesterday? Like, it's gonna be a really good game no matter where we're gonna end up playing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we have to talk about the storyline here because the storyline is so important in matches like these. Not only is it the grand final, but it is Panahone seeking their revenge against Maestro Esca, the team that sent them to the lower bracket in the upper round one. Panahone had to fight tooth and nail throughout the entire lower bracket. They had to play the most matches out of any single team to get to this point. And now they're up against Maestresca, who has had a relatively simple run to the grand finals, where their toughest match really was up against Panahone or Tabinicarpus, depends who you ask. But let's go ahead and look at these maps and see where these teams are playing.
Order for the first map.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely an interesting one. Border, we saw Panahone play up against Tabinicarpus yesterday on the map of Bank. We also saw them play on Lair as well. So I feel like Panahone are definitely going to be feeling comfortable with the maps, but Maestresca picking Border is a little bit interesting. We haven't seen it too often, if at all, in this playoffs. And both of these teams, that's definitely going to be a curveball, and it's going to come down to the preparation that these two teams have brought and whether or not that Panahone expected this map to even get through, Zua.
honestly, like, I think what surprises me the most here is that Fortress actually got banned by Panahune, like just showing how impressive the performance from Maestro Eska yesterday was against the Tabinicarpus. And in general, like, I really want to touch on that. If you look at the lower bracket one that Panahune did, they played literally against 4 out of the 5 strongest teams in the tournament. They had to play against Piston Cup winners, Good Intentions, Kokosi, and Tabinicarpus. I think they had the hardest run you could have in tier 2 at the moment to get to the grand final. And it's in general like just a story that they have been giving us every single time they go to lower bracket. They are faced by the strongest opponents, and then they will come up in the final. Like we had it at the combine as well, where they kind of like dropped out a little bit, like with like a little bit of being unlucky, and then they end up playing against the Project X in the final. And it's the same here. Like, I think the map bans kind of suit Panahune, especially Border. I think should be more in their ballpark considering how they play on Chalet, because it kind of like complements each other as well. But I don't want to waste too much time. What's your like super short rapid fire prediction for this first map?
I think it's definitely interesting. Panahone love to play aggressive. Border is a map that tends to play aggressive anyways. So I think Maestresca, we've talked about this multiple times, need to win this first map to take this series. But Panahone, can they find their revenge? Map 1, take us in, casters.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the grand finals of this season of the Meisterschaft in its European iteration. I am Maxwell, and I'm here with Herka, the Finnish man himself, casting his countrymen here in this grand final. How are you doing?
Oh, I am doing wonderfully, to say the least. It's always great to see, as you said, your own countrymen competing for a final, a grand final, even here. And I'm just very, very excited for this matchup. It should be great. It should be close. There should be a lot of good moments here in the next couple hours.
Absolutely. We've spoken a little bit on the desk already about these map picks. Border coming through, not really a map that we've seen at all in this tournament or too much. When we look back a little bit at Combine, for example, we did see Panahone play this map once or twice. They didn't really show off that this is one of the maps that they're the most comfortable on. But in terms of playstyle, it's definitely one that can play quite positively into both of these sides. Obviously, we saw some plays from Maestro Eska really bringing out really, really good individual performances. We're looking at plays like Denster, for example, dropping that ace to win out against Panahone as well. So we really know that they are able to perform in these aggressive situations when they need to. How do you kind of look at this map here with these two teams?
Well, Border is hell in a cell. That is the storyline for this map. It is very aggressive, and you need to be able to play aggressive on defense, which, as you said, Panuhone do know how to do. As we see immediately, Jegs going onto that DMR, which we know he's very good at handling off of those Chalet games. So it should be a very explosive matchup, and I think the matchup will be decided very quickly by which team gets on top of each other first. Like, do Panuhone get these defense rounds in and secure a lead going into their own attacks, or do MEISTERSCHAFT get their own attacks in on this attack side of the map? It'll be fun to see.
Absolutely. This is one of those maps that is definitely leaning towards the attacker side more so than it is the defenders. So some would argue that MEISTERSCHAFT is starting off with a little bit of an advantage here, but we haven't seen either of these two teams play it recently, like we already said. So there isn't the ability for these teams to have done all too much analysis. They will be playing this just to play for themselves, really making sure that they are showing what they can do. So we see the early aggression from Panuhone here, that first run out already coming through.
Run out indeed, and I do want to focus your attention onto the operator bans here for a second. This is quite not something that we see that often, as we see Evan on the Monty that has been one of the, I do think, looking at the statistics, the most banned operator in the entirety of MEISTERSCHAFT, on the side of the attack at least, along with Grim, actually. Grim having a very high ban rate, both of these operators up. And then we see a Deimos ban and a Ying ban coming from Panuhone in the first round. Deimos also an operator that does get banned quite a fair bit, but not in the first round. So this is some very interesting counter-stratting going on, I think.
Absolutely. We're seeing MEISTERSCHAFT making an early approach here towards both that break room as well as this east stairs. That really is the pivotal position that you'll be working with. Denster's already attempted to go for that triple Zafir play onto Nikes here. He didn't manage to get it at first, but he does manage to pick him off through the verticality now, as Evan will be faced with some smokes here from that smoke playing towards that top east stairs position. So Evan's going to have to drop off a little bit here to make sure that he doesn't fall early on as well.
Rusting already using a lot of his smokes. There goes the last one, actually. Stepping in for Halva, who unfortunately couldn't be today here for the Finnish team. But I'm sure Rusting will perform adequately as he has been with the team for a long time. I say that as Metin takes his head off, but Lambe avenges his teammate with getting Ranker off the board. That's B's gone. But still a man count advantage for MEISTERSCHAFT. And we have a Monty still up now, going into a 4 versus 2 off the back of Denster still onto Lambe.
Exactly, Denster here starting off as he finished on the previous series as well. 2-0 here in that first round. Jegs and Nifsu, they will be the two left to clutch it out here. As Nifsu's taken off the board, leaving only Jegs with the DMR. He drops down below. He's going to have to go for a little bit of a flank play here, as the side of MEISTERSCHAFT will be working in to put that diffuser down.
The early aggression really not working out in the favor of Panuhone here, as Ghost Riddick finishes out the round. But this is quite a typical border that we do see. It's really hard to defend this map, and if you give that ground to the attackers,
the map early on, but they need to be able to do so in a controlled manner, not losing out their lives too early while still being aggressive enough to make it uncomfortable for the attacking side, especially around those balconies that are sitting outside of CCTV and also top east room. Those are really those kind of main points where the attackers will collect themselves early on in the round. And these early kind of aggressive plays will make it very difficult for them to play around those positions. But of course, like we said, it's a very dangerous balancing game. And in the first round, Panuhone didn't get that quite right. But they do, of course, still have 5 more defensive rounds to do so. So we see a Legion being picked out here. Ranker switching away from that Grim that we mentioned. But Metin, he's moving his way over to the Glass. It can look like maybe we'll see some interesting plays here in the second round already.
it does smell pretty cheesy to me right now, especially with this Glass having smokes on the Monty and the Glass itself. So a lot of opportunities for that thermal scope to do work. A very interesting strategy indeed, because we did see MEISTERSCHAFT picking off in these 2 drone operators, Twitch and the Bravo, both being brought along in that first round. They did hover over those operators again in the second round, but decided to pick off of them indeed here. We'll see how that impacts the round, as Panuhone did bring 2 trap operators onto this, and maybe that'll hinder the ability of the Monty to make some headway into the map.
Lambe here on the vertical angle, he managed to pick off Riddick here as they're unaware and don't provide the communication effectively. So he will look to turn off his phone here so that he can rotate back, or I guess in the case of Skopos, it isn't so much a phone as it is just his arm. Rank is going to be pushing in to hold that verticality here, but Lambe, he's teleported himself back now. That's exactly why Scorpus is such a strong operator as well, just the ability to contest multiple parts of the map very quickly and switch between those positions as well should he need to. And of course, also just bringing out a very strong gun on a map that can be so gunfight heavy as he teleports his way back up into CCTV.
We do see Evan, as I talked about this Monty, that very powerful pushing operator. Ghost Riddick did lose his life inside of jail. Evan did not indeed has made headway with that Montaigne into the lobby already. So getting closer to the site together here.
It looks like MEISTERSCHAFT will be ignoring the top floor for large portions of this map as we see a run out from Lambe give away his position, so they will know that he has returned to that top floor into CCTV and security here as another phone call comes through. Rastin picking off the shield of Evan now. So it's looking like MEISTERSCHAFT might be pushing into a little bit of a wall here. They still have that verticality to deal with. They decided at the beginning of the round that they weren't going to deal with that. They were just going to ignore it for as long as possible, but it's starting to work against them here.
One of the things about Border is that it's quite like Lair in a lot of senses, or particularly the verticality, as we actually see Mateen and Denster equalize the man count here. But that verticality is also important, and we did see Panuhane abusing that verticality to get those kills inside of jail, as Rostin also did get one actually. As we see Denster actually equalizing the man count onto Lambe again here. It is the Rostin with his phone blew up and Jeg still on that top floor against Franker and Denster. Monty down, Glass down, so execute potential not that much. 30 seconds on the clock. They'll have to go for the kills here if MEISTERSCHAFT wishes to pick up a second round.
Yeah, that shotgun from Jegs above is going to become incredibly difficult to deal with as this round continues because the entire site is to be able to be contested from the verticality. So if they will look to put that diffuser down, then the information will be fed back very easily through that scanner here. So you see Ranka setting that diffuser down now. No information on the locations of the two attackers or the two defenders even. So we see that verticality coming through, but the diffuser is put down. Ranka losing a good chunk of HP here on the shotgun, but he manages to find his way out. So now Rastin and Jegs will have to play the retake. They managed to get the shots here onto Denster, so he's taken out, leaving Ranka all alone here against two. He's going to use one phone call here, but the swing coming through from Jegs, and they will be able to find the equalization in terms of rounds here. It's going to be 1-1 between MEISTERSCHAFT and Panuhane.
The beautiful retake from the side of Panuhane, allowing that plan. that side, it is very hard to get the diffuser down. As you said, the verticality coming in clutch. Not quite denying that that plant, but then getting the retake off of the back of that. Just very nicely played from Panuhane and a very nice attempt from MEISTERSCHAFT. But you just can't ignore that verticality to the degree that they try to do, even going in for these sort of pocket plays with the smokes and the Monty and Glass.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting take idea here from MEISTERSCHAFT to just try and take the verticality or the horizontal push as much as possible without contesting the verticality all too much, just because they know that the side of Panuhane will be fighting for that a lot. And they did find some success with it, but I do think that the main reason they even got so close to getting those kills is because players from Panuhane dropped back down to contest them on that bottom floor, something that they probably didn't need to do during that round, but Panuhane got away with it for sure. As we're moving now here into that bathroom site, it's a site which a lot more teams have started to play and really enjoy playing as well, even more so than that ventilation and workshop site that we just saw.
And that's
there you go. That's the exactly there you go. But a lot more teams have been. Sorry.
No, I was just throwing out a comment of dementia striking in early for getting the site here now.
Not this again. Not this again. It happens to the best of us. It's warm out. You know, it's been a long weekend of Siege, but a nice little pre-placed drone here from Evan. That's really important as well on Border. Getting those pre-placed drones onto those skylights, it can feed back so much information also about that printer position. So Ranka will set up some claymores here to contest the runouts that are also dangerous on this map. As Ghost Riddick manages to find Lambe here on the opening.
An important pick onto that Legion. Those traps still staying in pocket, not having too much of an impact in the round, hinder players like Evan or even Denster or Ghost Riddick trying to go for these backstabs. We do still see Nifsu here out on the inside of our office trying to contest that top east position against the shield. We see how far how well that goes, as this site very, very heavily relies upon that office and top east control. Should you lose it as a defender, it is an uncomfortable position to be, as the attackers can then execute onto that bathroom site, and there's very little you can actually do about that.
Definitely is. Jegs and Riddick here going for the trade as the Monty's being contested now from the bottom of the stairs here. We'll be seeing Nikas fighting for his life here, but at the moment the Monty's alone, so he's gonna have to go for the gunfight here, but Denster coming to his aid, managing to pick off the Echo here now, and that's a lot of the plant in Igon. And he's managed to find his way onto site here, so Evan will be able to put down that diffuser as the drop comes through, and no cover at the moment here. Denster does realize that Nifsu's dropped, leaving Rastin all alone here. He's on that balcony, so he will be able to try and go for some angles, but Evan with the ADS, and he doesn't quite know about his position. So that will be a second round here for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, and as we'd already discussed, this is an attacker-favored map, so Panohone won't necessarily be all too upset about losing these rounds all yet, but of course, if they let too many of them slip, and it's going to start looking pretty dusty for them pretty quickly.
Haven't been pulling out a wonderful performance in MEISTERSCHAFT up until this point. One thing I do want to pay some attention to here is that in my first cast here at MEISTERSCHAFT, we had MEISTERSCHAFT versus the Spanish Inquisition, as we see the Shield ban and the Solis ban come out, actually. MEISTERSCHAFT actually did lose border to the Spanish Inquisition, and a big part of that was actually them banning out most of these shields that Evan is so comfortable on. Now that the secondary ban phase has come through, we will have that Blitz and we will have that Blackbeard available for Evan to play throughout this match on their attacking side should this go to overtime, which is unlimited here, I do remind you. So we'll be seeing how much of an impact those characters actually have in this round as we see Panohone going back up to the second floor with Rastin on the Tachanka, interestingly enough.
We've been seeing a lot of Tachanka played here, and a big part of that was just the maps that we were seeing. A lot of these maps like Lair and also Consulate, which is turning into a little bit of our favorite map to see apparently. Tachanka just really does very well on those maps. Border is one where you don't see him quite as much because of how strong playing for the plants, playing for the gunfighters. But we are seeing MEISTERSCHAFT bringing a bit more of a plant-focused playstyle here, so I do quite like the pick around from Rastin. Nikas also onto an operator, which can be used to deny the plant, but also to deny kind of those lurking entry points that we've been seeing being pretty powerful for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, and especially Denster, who's having another fantastic game here quite early on. But the operator pick's definitely quite strong. Also, that Warden, after being buffed, does very, very well on a bank, like on a map like Border, where a lot of the utility can get spammed on 1 or 2 power positions.
That one will be indeed very, very powerful. As I look at the lineup of MEISTERSCHAFT having a bajillion throwables, let's be honest here, that those discs will be very instrumental in keeping these players alive, as we see Lambe on that DMR that we talked about, picking off Denster, the hero of MEISTERSCHAFT in the recent times, as the gets a little bit lippy in chat. But a good kill from Panohone, and an excellent way to start this off if you want to keep that top floor side, as we see Rastin get another one on that LMG, and Evan push up to the Tachanka, not quite getting the kill. Missing most of the shots, but Ranker does get one back with the nade. Of course, he gets one on the Nikas, and Nifsu gets Ranker. Lambe gets another with a DMR. Evan gets one back, but Jegs finishes out the round with his own DMR that we see just at the end.
Yeah, the kills flying through quickly there, refrag after refrag, and Evan will be kicking himself there that he didn't manage to confirm that Tachanka a little bit quicker, as it might have given his teammates a little bit of a better chance to contest that Wamai swinging out. As you see, the blitz that was effective, but he just didn't quite manage to connect his shots when he needed to. The native Ranker being able to pick him up at the end, so that wasn't all too worrisome there, but Nifsu swinging through, managing to pick them off, and Jegs coming in right at the right time to be able to refrag wherever he needed to. A good round there, a good fight for the top of Eastairs, and we have mentioned it before, but that Eastairs control really is what a lot of teams play for when it comes to these sites and these executes, because really that is the dominant piece of control without the entire map. You have kind of these two sides where you attack through. It's either that top east position or that CCTV position, and if you're lucky, you really try and go for both here if you want to be incredibly thorough. But we'll be going back here to that ventilation and workshop site, the site that Panohone managed to get their first defensive win on, so they will be feeling comfortable on it. We see a very similar setup again with some of these traps coming through, but we'll be seeing that double drone denial coming through again here. And again, just because of how small the map is, you can stack a lot of that matching utility together. You can either really focus heavily on playing a lot of traps or also a lot of drone denial, like it is in this situation here, as they'll just be looking to contest and deny as much of the map as possible.
Then swapping off of that shield onto the Grim, maybe recognizing that the Blitz isn't quite as powerful here against Panohone as that Monty was. That Monty, and of course, being extremely strong and getting that map control early enough and being unable to, like, you cannot aggress onto a Montaigne very early in the round, as these spawn peaks and early gunfights do determine how Border goes. Monty, of course, having that shield in front of his face fully extended, cannot quite be spawn peak, so that allows for some free information gathering. onto the gun now. We'll see how he utilizes this Twitch as Nifsu gets some early damage onto him.
Yeah, Nifsu losing a good amount of HP there, but he will be able to get away with his life, so that won't be too bad for him. As Lambe just about misses the timing here on Denster, pushing into jail, finding that rotation as well into sight room, so he'll be able to cut off quite a lot here. As Mateen struggles a little bit to find the angle onto the bulletproof cam, and that doesn't connect as Evan manages to pick off Lambe here. So that will be the Mozzie taken off the board. CCTV control a little bit easier to achieve now, as we see those Mute and Mozzie combination being really, really detrimental here. Rastin still playing around break room. We see Nikas also matching up with him here, and Jegs playing along that balcony. They'll be working together to confirm some kills, as they do manage to find one onto Ghost Riddick here, as he tried to make his entry towards CC.
Equal man count on the both teams is still 1.5 minutes on the clock, so this could realistically go either way. I say as Rostin does actually not equalize the man count, but gets the lead for Panuhane. This is a 3 versus 2 with Evan and Mateen having it all to do, but very powerful guns in their hands, very powerful operators. It's not over until it's over yet. They will have still a chance to get this round onto them and get the round lead.
Yeah, Mateen finds 2 here as he pushes in, so Jegs will be all alone. He needs to find the right angles, but Evan swings around and gets him. And it's going to be yet another attacking round here. They'll be looking to get at least one more to get that favorable round split. But one thing that I thought was quite interesting during that round is that kill that the Legion managed to get from break room. And we really just saw the kind of utility that Panuhane were bringing there become incredibly influential, as he just managed to hide himself away in break room, not being able to be droned out because of that Mute and Mozzie combination. So we saw that be quite effective. They managed to get the kills, but at the end of the day, MEISTERSCHAFT just had the refrags in the right positions. And we saw the Twitch of Mateen finding that appropriate gap, being able to push through, get 2 for his troubles as well. He did get a little bit lucky on the timing with Rastin, who was pushing out onto that east balcony. But he won't mind too much as to how he got the kills, as long as they're on the board. Panuhane, they will be trying to repeat the same site here as Lambe. He has returned over onto his Scopos as well, which was very, very effective last time. Nifsu and Jegs now playing those 2 drone deny operators.
Nikkei also bringing the Goyo along to stall out these maybe cheeky plans that they MEISTERSCHAFT went for last time we played this ventilation site. Having based the Goyo device directly onto that plant is quite hard to see from verticalities, or if you're being contested from, let's say, Armory Balk, maybe have a little bit of a dangerous angle to peek. We do see, as you said, a similar lineup plus that Goyo with a little bit of these operators shuffled around. Lambe onto that Scopo still inside of CC. Yegs onto the Mozzie, Nifsu drone denial operators. And then we see the Legion again from Rostin, which is, I think, do correct me if I'm wrong, but still a very interesting pick, as Legion hasn't quite been in the meta for a while. Been more of a niche pick ever since that nerf came through to his gadget, and he lost that shotgun. But of course, having his gadget buffed recently a little bit has made a little bit of a resurgence in his pick rates.
Yeah, I do think a lot of the time Legion is a bit of a comfort pick, especially on maps which are so gunfight heavy, like for a border, for example. I do think that there are objectively better choices that you can bring when it comes to the utility. I think there's no real reason to play Legion over Thorn. You do obviously get slightly more deny, just ever so slightly more traps, but not really to a point where I think it's worth that trade-off. But of course, it is a preferential pick here. The gun, obviously the P5 SMG, incredibly strong. Riddick here, he will be making his approach towards CCTV again, as they do know that Lambe is playing in that position. They are aware now of those foot angles that they need to care about. As Nikas has a long angle here onto Mateen, so he can get the refrag as Jegs is taking off the board, but Evan, he's right behind him, managing to pick up Rastin as well, opening up that breach now, so he knows that he needs to be careful contesting that TCSG angle. Stanza does hit one of those goo mines.
Nikkei is actually going 0-5 before this round, getting 2 kills inside of the round, equalizing the man count for Panuhane. And we still have Nifsu getting 1, Nikkei is getting a 3rd inside of the round, and we have Ranker prone on the ground outside of CCTV with it all to do for himself. Should he find 3 kills, this would be a very nice half for MEISTERSCHAFT, but I do think we're looking at an equal 3-3 half here.
Lambe, he will rotate his way back as Ranker does manage to find the first here onto Nikas, shutting down that top performer from the round, at least taking care of that Scopos secondary shell. Just so that Lambe doesn't have the ability to teleport around him anymore, and also doesn't have the ability to restore his HP. That's another very important thing to note here. As Lambe will make himself a rotation into bathroom, just making that drop down the hatch is a little bit more uncomfortable for the side of Ranker. I'll have a minute to work with here as he looks to try and find anything. Gets rid of that default cam just to take away the information, opening up that hatch into bathroom as well, giving a little bit more pressure to the side of Lambe. Of course, if he does go for that drop without any flashbangs or any utility of the sort, he will still have the advantage there, giving away his position by shooting that drone. He could probably just left that go through, to be honest here. He does have the headlines and the head angles here to be able to hold down those drops. So that option will be taken away from Rank as he does find a drop here. He's just going to start putting down the diffuser, maybe hoping to cover it with the sound a little bit. The shotgun pushing him close here, but he's going to just stick it through. He has a shotgun out, swings around here with a first. That's the bearing 9 doing a whole bunch of damage, and he's now in a 1 versus 1 versus Lambe. The diffuser is planted, and he'll be able to go for the hatch retake. He also still has that Goyo shell available. He goes for the first few shots but misses them, so he's going to go off, and that means that Lambe has to retake top floor now. We see him push into CCTV as well as Ranker. He makes his way all the way outside. He's going to play a bit of a cat and mouse game, just try and bait Lambe into it here, and the shots come through from Lambe. Beautiful shot there to be able to clutch out the round, and Ranker did everything right really except for hitting those shots when it mattered most.
He does love going prone onto that CCTV pallet, but the second time not good enough for a kill. And as we see Panahuane equalize the round count, that was a very, very close round from what should have been a very decisive lead for Panahuane, but Ranker almost manages to bring it back. It's very good playing from both teams right now. And as we head to MEISTERSCHAFT's statistically a slightly weaker side, so we'll see how well Panahuane can utilize these attacks, or are we headed for another 3-3 equals half and going to overtime maybe?
One very important thing to note with the overtime as well is that we will be playing with unlimited overtime in this tournament. And so if they do manage to get their way all the way to 8-7, the game doesn't stop there. These teams will need to be 2 rounds to the good to be able to confirm the map. So that means that even though we only do have 1 best of 3 today, we might be able to see a very, very long series ahead of us here. And obviously for the Siege fanatic in us, we're all hoping for that at least once today. But for the sanity and for our sakes, I'm not quite sure if that's something that I'll be hoping for.
Well, at least the one thing about Infinite Overtime is that it does utilize a very good stress test for your heart, as I do vividly remember watching back the grand finals of the last SI, where FaZe Clan and Team Secrets, spoiler alert, did go to very many overtimes, and these overtimes going long and long, I think up to like around 20-ish rounds even. I am hoping that we don't see 20 rounds per map here, as that would indeed be a very long day. But it is always a possibility, and with the way things have been going at MEISTERSCHAFT, you can never count that out.
This is, I very much appreciate you giving a spoiler alert there, but at this point, if anyone hasn't watched that game, it's really their own fault. This is like when someone gave me a spoiler alert for the Titanic the other day, and I was thinking, buddy, if I haven't watched the Titanic at this point, then that's completely on me. What are we talking about? Spoiler alert. But either way, we don't have the script here, at least. I don't know if Zua shared it with you, but he didn't share it with me, so I don't know how any of these games are going to be ending. Of course, it's all been predetermined. This is all just a show. It's like the WWE. None of this is actually real. We already know who the champion is, and we're just going through the motions here.
Yeah, I did not get the script shared with me, unfortunately, so I am as much in the dark as you are. So at least it will be a good ride for both of us. Before the action actually commences here in the round, I do want to pay attention to these operator bans again. Panahuane choosing to ban out the Azami and the Mirror, both very operators that we've talked about at length here. As we see Ghost Rick narrowly escaping that triple Zofia impact from Jegs. Lucky to survive with his life as he moves out at just exactly the right time.
It's quite interesting to see that both teams here went for the very same play at the beginning of their first round onto that same position as well, but neither of them being successful with the kill. The drone ping is coming through, but not quite being as effective as they needed it to be here. The shield getting knocked away from the Blitz. He does get taken out, but Lambe does refrag too as well here as Jegs gets Ranker and Lambe gets Evan. So they will have an advantage situation here as Jegs also picks off Denster, and it's a poor start to the round here for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, but a good one definitely for Panahuane. Riddick does manage to clean up Jegs as well here. He is on low HP. He's going to be able to keep on fighting for another day as Nickes, he's found his way into sight here.
Already inside, but with no diff in hand, that is a thing that was discussed quite extensively in last night's stream. You can take the side all you want, but if you don't have the diffuser in your hand, that control means actually very little at the end of the day, as we do see Lambe picking up the diff and going for the plant onto concrete, and Rostin picks up Mateen, and Ghost Riddick, the survival of that Zofia impact earlier, having 3 kills in front of him and a minute and 15 seconds left to do so should he want to win the round.
Yeah, he's going to have to find a way to get these kills. There shots coming through on Lambe, not quite managing to confirm that. Pre-fire going through as well, but Nickes, he does clean him up. So the first round will be going to the side of Panahuane here, as it did for MEISTERSCHAFT on the very first split of the map. And it is the map pick as well of MEISTERSCHAFT, so they will want to make sure that they can pick up some rounds here rather sooner than later. because like we said before as well, it's going to start looking quite hairy for whichever team doesn't manage to tie these defensive rounds together. Panahoné obviously getting 3 of them so far, and looking strong on the attacking portion of the map as well.
Yeah, both teams being quite unsuccessful at defending that top floor. Your guess is as good as mine as to why that is, but maybe that is just a slightly weaker side. Maybe the meta maybe favors those first floor sides, as we see Panahoné going to them quite a lot, but not MEISTERSCHAFT. MEISTERSCHAFT say that let's run it back again. We can do better this time, as they bring a very unorthodox setup for the side of border. We have a Maestro and double breach channel operators coming through.
Yeah, we did see Denster on the Maestro a few times over on Fortress. Obviously not a map that we will be seeing today here. He did play it both against MEISTERSCHAFT and also against Abini Karpos. So definitely an operator that MEISTERSCHAFT do enjoy playing. Obviously, it is also their namesake. You know, if you're going to name your team after an operator, you might as well play him whenever given the opportunity here. But I'm more interested here about the castle setup coming through from them, giving full control of East Stairs away just like that for Panahoné. Going for that reinforcing off here, just trying to remove any lines of sight here for the side of Panahoné as well. And one key thing to note is they have no means of clearing out these bandit wires except for the verticality of Nifsu and Jegs. But of course, not all of those positions can be cleared vertically.
We see also a very I always say a forgotten mechanic that got added a while back, that being not the spawn kill that Ranker just got onto Nifsu, going for that verticality, but the fact that in that east door, that castle barricade was electrified by the Kaid, a mechanic that isn't really used all that much, but could come in handy here, as that should they have a Hibana, which they don't at this point, that castle barricade could not be opened with these remote charges. But Yegs' Sophia does not quite care, as that Sophia impact will go through that barrier regardless of electricity, I believe.
And Jegs, he does have the information on the position of Ranker, and where usually he would require 3 impacts to be able to pick him off, he will now only need 1, maybe 2, depending on how close he gets. But he wastes those on a different position. Ghost Riddick not quite being able to be cleared out here. So he will manage to survive for a little bit longer around Break Room here, swinging around, and he's a little bit stuck here now, as he has no way of rotating around as he sprints through here. His phone explodes as well, dealing a good amount of damage. Lambe here in quite an aggressive position, but Denster finding a good swing around on him as well to clear out his position. The pings are coming through from both of these teams as they have a good amount of information on the locations of their opponents. Ranker now being taken out by Jegs, but Denster here with yet another refrag. And the peaking peaks of Ghost Riddick are going to be fatal for him, as Nikes is watching and waiting. It's a 2v3 situation now for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT.
2v3 situation, make that a 2v2 actually, as Rostin picks up the head of Denster. We still do have that Maestro up with those cameras and that LMG, that also deadly LMG. You know, there are some days where I just wish that ACOG would be put back on that gun again, and because it was a monster and still very much is. But a 2v2 and 50 seconds left on the clock still here. We do have breaching charges from the side of Nick AS as well. So it's still not over. Either team could realistically still take this, as we do see the clock ticking down more and more.
Team with a swing out here onto Rastin does find his mark as well. Yeko here, or the Maestro getting taken out from Evan, and now to 1 versus 1. Mateen is so low as well. It's only going to be 1 bullet needed. But Mateen with the pistol. What a shot from him. He's been showing through this entire tournament that he is a serious player, and he does so again, backed up into a corner. But what a shot coming through from him.
What a shot indeed. That is an insane way to win that round. As we did see MEISTERSCHAFT gathering up quite a lead, getting killed through those verticalities, but then Panahoné equalizing the man count, and this Mateen, the hero of the day, picking off those 2 last players in that 2v2. Oh, well, what a round indeed. And we have an equal round count now, as we see MEISTERSCHAFT heading down into that bathroom and teller site.
One thing that's worrying me a little bit about MEISTERSCHAFT at the moment is their positioning within these rounds. Too many times they're losing players because they're just not quite aware of where Panahoné can be. We saw that in that round, Denster being picked off from that office window. We also saw the castle of Ghost Riddick just swinging out on a position that he really didn't need to here. So we need to make sure that they are aware that they don't need to swing out on all of these positions, especially when they have the man counts. It's very important to know what the pressure is that you're experiencing in that round. When do you need to make a play and when do you not? And at the moment, MEISTERSCHAFT aren't quite getting those reads right every single round. Of course, you can't expect them to be playing it perfectly every single time. And they are still even on round count. So from that perspective, maybe it's working out in their favor sometimes as well, because the aggression of it is just something that Panohone might not be expecting. It's definitely something they need to clean up here throughout the series if they want to make sure that they prevail, as Riddick, he's taken out very early here by Lambe.
Say clean up, but I think it's Ghost Riddick who just got cleaned up from there from Lambe. We see Nikkei is going on to the Maverick on a map like Border. I'm very interested to see what the plan here is. Is he getting those hatches that Ranker has brought the Kai to maybe electrify, or what is the plan for Panohone here, as we do see a man count advantage going for them, but there is still that clash on board that could cause some problems.
Clash again on a small map like Border can become very dangerous here, as Denster does find the refrag onto Lambe as he's retaking the CCTV position to have that verticality here. That means that Nifsu is going to have to rotate above as they decide not to completely ignore the verticality here on this site, as Panohone or as MEISTERSCHAFT did when they were attacking onto, albeit a slightly different site that plays a slightly different way here. It looks like MEISTERSCHAFT, they have their positions locked and loaded at the moment. Panohone are just stalling out a little bit as they're making a plan on how they can execute onto these positions here. Shots coming through, but missing the head of Denster as he aims to fall back. Wallbang's coming here with that death mark enabled, but there is a solid wall in between. There is no solid wall between Rastin and Ranker, though.
That kite being picked up, but still, utility is already placed down, and maybe I didn't quite spot the fact that if Ranker died with that C4 in his pocket, but it's still not too big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, as Panohone have gotten that man advantage over to their side. And the thing about that clash is in a high man count situation, that clash is very useful, very important. Holding these angles that you normally cannot hold, gathering information for your team, slowing down shields. But the fewer your teammates are, that shield actually turns against you, as you do need that gun out at some point, and Clash only bringing a secondary, not a primary weapon on the defense.
Absolutely. That being said, of course, it is a secondary weapon that can shoot fully automatically. So if you are proficient enough with the weapon, you can definitely make it work. And now that Clash has the ability to put a shield down, you can kind of circumvent that a little bit. So you see Mateen starting off in a little flank here, but it looks like he has been caught out as he's going to fall back down here. But that's going to take the attention of a few of the attackers of Panohone at least. See Mateen here on a long angle. Evan getting stunned out here. He's been locked into a corner. And now that last Sophia stun is going to come through. They have to try and coordinate onto it. As he gets away with just a sliver of health here. He's got one more impact to go, but they won't be able to clear him out. 15 seconds left to go. They're going to have to go for the hatch drop here. But Evan, he's giving back all of the information. A swing coming through from Denster here as well. The Thorn Mine also in the way. The hipfire managed to find him. Nick is also getting onto Evan. So there's 7 seconds left to go as Mateen needs to clutch up once again, but he cannot do so despite picking up Jegs. Nifsu cleaning out the round, and the advantage restored for Panohone.
That is an absolutely outrageous way to end that round, as we see Evan just soaking utility inside of that corner. And at the end, the Goyo did down the planter. So should Panohone not have gone for that final swing, that planter was down and the kit not on the ground yet. So that could have been very easily a MEISTERSCHAFT round, but Panohone just managed to bring that back up by the skin of their teeth. That is very, very close, and a clutch play coming in from the Zofia drop.
Mateen really trying to show off here once again that he has that clutch ability whenever he's put in those situations. Him and Denster, they've really been the two kind of star performers for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT throughout the full tournament. They're the ones that have been trading blows, fighting for the top of the scoreboard whenever they can. Denster obviously also very, very big when it comes to the calls, the IGLing, and the coordination of the team here. He's been showing it for the previous few tournaments as well. In Combine, he was one of the standout players, if not the standout player for the tournament almost. And he's looking to continue that level of proficiency throughout every single map here that he looks to play. He comes onto the server every day trying to be better than the previous. As we see Panohone, they're splitting out their load a little bit more evenly. Nifsu, of course, he's the one that's trading a little bit, but he's the one that's usually tasked with putting down the diffuser, playing those slightly less aggressive roles, which just doesn't allow you or enable you to have those plant or those execute those kill positions all too frequently. And he does his job incredibly well. Of course, a team like Panohone that is so good and so strong in that T2 circuit, everyone on that team will have their qualities. It's impossible to say that someone isn't pulling their weight, otherwise they would not be playing in a grand final right now.
Well, obviously not. Each and every one of these players inside of the server has proven that they are the cream of the crop inside of the Tier 3 circuit. They are the best that T2 Europe has to offer. And there's a very good reason why they are here at the MEISTERSCHAFT Grand Finals. There's also going to be a very good reason why Nikkei has picked onto that Ying, and Nifsu has picked up that Blitz that he loves so much. Yeg's also on the copy pass, so like we'll we'll be expecting some cheeky plays here maybe coming through as we see Anif's already getting the plant down. Nikkei Ying out that top floor so the Solis cannot actually deny it.
Yeah, that top floor Candela coming through to deny the verticality there. Evan unable to spot the diffuser out as he was completely blinded. Rastin managed to pick up Ghost Riddick, but Denster does get the refrag onto Nifsu. That's a shield off the board at least, but they only have 25 seconds to work with here if they want to get a post plant in. Nikes on that shotgun as well, managing to take off Evan with one singular shot there. Rank is going to have to try and retake through bottom metal here, but all of the players of Panohona, they found their way outside here. Rastin picking up Denster as well, and this is looking like it's going to be a round for Panohona as there won't be enough time here to get that diffuse down, even if they find the kills. Ranka getting one onto Lambe here. That upside down repel is going to be lethal as well, swinging outside, not being able to pick up Jegs. And that's the round gone as the Twitch retook the top floor here and manages to confirm that final kill as well, but the timer would have been through anyway.
I mean, would have been through anyway, and that's a very, very nice way to get Panuhan on to match point right now. As we see Evan is slightly complaining inside of the chat of that jump out not working quite in his favor, but that is an ingenious way. You know, we often see that Ying pick coming through not to actually displace players on site, but knowing that there will be somebody on that verticality, maybe a Solus, trying to deny that quick execute plant inside of the smoke, as Solus gonna obviously see that plant going down on her scanner. Well, can't see much of anything if you have a Ying Candela on your face. As is the reason why a lot of teams often bring Warden, for example, on sites like that bunk site on Lair to circumvent that. But no Warden inside this time, and Panuhone get a round off of the back of that play.
Absolutely, that might have been a small oversight on the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. There will obviously have been a conversation and a reason about why Solus was picked there and preferred over the Warden. Being able to spot out that plant wherever it goes down, so you don't need a direct line of sight per se. But MEISTERSCHAFT will be kicking themselves that they made that decision, as it did come back to bite them in the behind of this specific round. We will be returning out to that top floor though, as we see Mateen setting up a little bit of a roam down here as well, just cutting off a lot of control here through that kind of bottom control room, through that bottom lobby here, onto the cams early on to spot out the locations of the push, because as we said, usually those pushes will either come over CCTV or E-stairs. So gathering that information early and being able to shift around utility can become very, very beneficial.
Very beneficial indeed, and I do want to touch more upon the operator pickup of Mateen. Sentry, an operator that you don't see in, let's say, playing Bias Mortals in ranked or even any other way around that. But inside of competitive circuits, that Sentry is quite invaluable, and we often see players like Mike Mateen, or even if you want to look over the P1 circuit of June playing Sentry on this particular map quite a lot. That TCSG and C4 just being very, very valuable. As we do see Panuhana securing another opening pick. Ghost Riddick falling as we see Ranker actually avenging his teammate and almost getting caught out by the Sophia Impulse going on low HP. Mateen also getting caught out by the Sophia of Jegs. And we have 2 minutes left on the clock and a pretty decisive lead for Panuhana.
And just because that impact goes, he's going to be completely scared out of his mind. But Jegs doesn't even need that to be able to confirm the kill onto Mateen here. As with 1 minute 45 left on the round, Panohona are looking set to take their first map out here in this best of 3 series. Of course, there are only 3 maps played here. Unlike other tournaments where you will expect a best of 5 final here, we only have the 3 of those maps, but of course do offering that unlimited overtime. So if MEISTERSCHAFT manage to win 2 more rounds here, we will be looking to go there. It's Rastin just missing out the timing here onto Denster. CC's the jump out, and he does manage to confirm the kill as well. Perfect timing to switch onto that camera there. Now it's only Evan and Ranka here, both of them on low HP. Sight control or below control is given away here as well to the side of Panohona. Evan, he needs to turn his phone off because those phone calls will be lethal for both of them. Push coming up the metal stairs here, contested by Ranka, so he's going to swing around as the Sophia drops down as well. 1 stun left here, but Rastin, he manages to pick up Ranka. That's only Evan left on a slither of health. He's getting floor banned, he's getting shot from everywhere. And that's Evan down, and that's the very first map here going the way of Panohona. The Finnish team winning on the map pick of MEISTERSCHAFT.
Winning indeed, and quite decisively, a 7-4 score, no unlimited overtime needed. That is a performance for Panohana, who we've talked about or do like these aggressive maps. So very, very nice performance here. Picking up their opponent's map. We'll be going on to map through in a second, but after the replay, we'll be hearing from our staff on the desk shortly of what they think about this matchup.
And what a first map that was, Sua. I mean, we talked about it before that Border is a very aggressive map. Panuone, they love to play aggressive. They love to get in your face. We didn't necessarily see it so much on their defense, but on their attack, the ability to clear out the roamers, their ability to find first blood after first blood. And even when they didn't find the first bloods, they were able to bounce back by clearing everybody out and working really, really well together.
Yeah, absolutely. When we went to like the one top with like 3-3, I was like, oh, that's like that shouldn't happen on Border. But in the end, you know, like Panohune kind of played to how we expected it, with like these like cheesy executes, like being fast on the attack, and then on the defense they tried to be not too aggressive. But I also felt like that Maestro-esque, they kind of over anticipated how much aggression Panohune will show them. And some situations you've really seen that Panohune just they took like the early control really fast and then took the foot off the gas completely, and then Maestro-esque just not being aware of where the Panohune players are and just getting shot in the back from the office window. I think that's one of the situations that the cast has highlighted. Like all of these small things where it kind of felt like they are not really grasping where is the opponent. They're not really like counting where they are. That's at least how it felt like. And I know we don't often hear that from the desk, but I think like some of the players should spend more time droning than chatting, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and we saw Panohune take the lead on the first bloods. They ended up with 6 first bloods compared to Maestro-esque's 5 first bloods. But it felt like almost every single time that Maestro-esque obtained a first blood, it was traded so extremely quickly. And I think that really played into Panohune's hands because they're a team that plays so heavily off of those trades. We saw a lot of these rounds end up being really, really messy, especially in the first half, where it was just trades back and forth, back and forth. And Panohune, more times than not, when it got messy, were the team that came out ahead on those trades and ended up winning most of those rounds. And when we moved on to the attack for Panohune, they really just had a clear, concise game plan. And it revolved solely around the Zofia. And I even mentioned it to you while we were watching that. In that second ban phase for Maestro-esque, they probably should have banned the Zofia. I feel like they weren't having too much trouble with the Deimos specifically. I feel like it came down to the Zofia was working extremely well for the side of Panohune. It was counteracting the Kaid, the Castle, and all of these things that Maestro-esque wanted to do. And it also felt like a comfort pick for the majority of Panohune's players because it wasn't just a single player on that Zofia. They were able to rotate it around. They were able to bring things that they wanted, things that were working for them. And the Zofia was a central piece of that puzzle for the side of Panohune.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Zofia is just one of those operators that allows you to be extremely fast, extremely aggressive. Like it has a really good gun. And on a map that is so small, such as Border, the impact grenades or like the stuns from Zofia are so valuable because you can even clear areas with those grenades, just shooting it into ECS, for example. If it doesn't go off immediately, you can kind of like get a feeling, okay, there's no one here. You can use it to do verticals. Like in general, Zofia is just like a really well-rounded operator and is so powerful now in at least in this matchup, where if they would have taken away the Zofia, even the defense stress would have gotten so much stronger with the Castle and the Kaid setup. They could have done nothing. They would have had to bring in Ashe, and Ashe is just, in general, like compared to Zofia, just worse. It has Ashe has one less breach charge. The gun is okay. Like I know many people love the R4C, but I just think that the M762 after the recent changes is just so much better. And in general, it just felt a little bit like disorganized on the side of Maestro-esque, like I mentioned before. That it's just the general awareness of how do we want to play against these guys, and it almost felt like the 5 opening kills that Maestro Esakit were like so impactless because nothing really happened after this. And when you compared it to Panahune, after they got the opening kills, they managed to not get traded out, but they also managed to leverage it into the bomb side. They leveraged to always keep the man advantage that they just created at the beginning of the round all the way into the bomb side, all the way into the execute. And man, like these cheesy executes with the Ying and just jumping into the ventilation window. I like this stuff. I like this stuff a lot. I think like this is Siege. And yeah, no, I'm really looking forward of can we see Maestro Eska picking up the communication issues that at least it's how it felt like for us. They had in map 1, get kind of like back on track, and then will Panahune's team play will prevail superior on bank.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, that Maestro Eska, they got caught off guard by that specific rush plant from Panahune, where they brought the Ying, they brought the Blitz, they brought all these things. They just jumped inside, got the case down. First blood didn't even happen by the time that the case had gone down. And Panahune had not done anything like that up until that point. And so the fact that they brought it out in that round after being very slow, being very methodical, and finding all of these first bloods to then do that, and then they didn't even do it again. It was a perfect time to bring that out in that ventilation workshop bomb site. And it just worked to absolute perfection. And Max, considering that you have a little bit more intimacy into Maestro Eska, can you break down exactly maybe how Maestro Eska might have been feeling in that moment to get caught off guard like that?
He doesn't know what you're talking about.
If the map keeps going like this, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about exactly. No, I do think that in general, the kind of mentality and the vibes around the team usually are very, very good, even when it comes to situations like that. The main focus for them will have been, how can we make sure something like this doesn't happen again? Not even just necessarily on this map, but also in the following map. So I'm sure that's a conversation that will have been had. We obviously did not see them take a tactical timeout throughout this map, which maybe they could have done at a certain point to be able to kind of have a chat and discuss these things, especially against an execute heavy team like Panahune. Those aren't really mistakes you want to make. You should really be expecting these kinds of plays with the Ying and maybe bringing a Warden whenever you can. But that being said, I think they will be keeping it very, very civil and very much productive in the conversations. That's something that they've been working on recently. A little bird has whispered into my ear. And so I do think that they will have had productive conversations going into the second map especially.
I definitely agree with that. Maestro Eska is not a team to go into the Dark Knight with just a whimper. They are a team that will want to bounce back. Yes, they lost their own map pick, but moving on to the second map of Bank, which Panahune did in fact lose yesterday, albeit they did pick it. Will Maestro Eska be able to bounce back, or will Panahune be able to close it here? Casters, go ahead and take it away.
Well, as a great caster I know would say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Let's get ready to make some money as we are indeed heading into the second map of this best of 3 grand final bank of all maps, which is a very interesting choice coming out from Panahune, as they did lose the map 7-8 yesterday. Right now, looking to right their own wrongs and get this over the line this time.
Absolutely. And after a very philosophical and poetic final words from Erebos, I'm definitely feeling incredibly inspired going into this map too. Let's see if Maestro Eska will be going into the Dark Knight with deep dark thoughts or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. My mind was absolutely blown away from that. But let's see if they've managed to use this short break between the two maps to discuss what they need to do to be able to win it out here. It is, of course, the map pick of Panahune. Like we said, they did play it yesterday. Maybe not to their fullest of abilities. And if Maestro Eska were watching, they definitely will have picked up 1 or 2 things that they can take into this map here. But only time will tell as we head into our first round here. The bans, once again, we see that Cade being banned out, really a staple here on this map. The Clash is being taken out as well, so it looks like Panahune might have some inkling as to what Maestro Eska want to do, as we see the defending side taking out the Monty and the Deimos, 2 bans that shouldn't be all too unexpected when it comes to how Panahune play.
But yeah, of course not. That Monty being very, very ubiquitous. So the strongest shield in the game. We've gone on to a great amount of lengths to explain why that character is that powerful as it is. And it is still standing as the most banned operator in all of MEISTERSCHAFT right now. Also having a very, very high ban rate, even in tier 1 competition. So anybody who hates Monty is surely looking forward to the operator next season that is rumored to be a shield counter. and then that Deimos out. Just a very, very powerful information gathering operator, and able to pick those gunfights, do soft destruction with that DMR, having nades, having that AK, and that shotgun capability as well. That's a thing that most people often forget about Deimos, is that he does have that that Mossberg shotgun that you can run down these stairways. That Bank has. We often see people stuffing that shotgun down the blue stairways to challenge maybe a smoke or some other closest operator on the stairs. So just a very good ban overall. As we see Ghost Riddick on the Vigil actually here on the top floor, missing a shot with the Boss G, and Diggs punishes that. Well, actually, my bad, not missing the shot, just downing Lambe, but Denster's there to clean both of them up, and that's a very nice lead for the first round of MEISTERSCHAFT.
I wanted to do a little group exercise with the chat before the round got too intense, but I wasn't even given the opportunity for that, so we'll have to do that after the round here. As Rastin, he's pushed up to a close position onto lobby here, waiting for the head of Mateen to swing around. Nikes, he manages to find the kill. He's stolen that from the other side. As Denster, he's on it for his third here, managing to get the pick onto Rastin. Those Valkyrie cams feeding back a lot of information, being able to really help him out to pick these kills up. Of course, one of those kills will be accredited to Ghost Riddick here. Shot being missed from Nikes, and so Denster, he's going to have to do something big here. C4 comes out to shut down that aggressive swing path for Nikes as he manages to fall back here. A few shots coming through that wall. That has been open now. His head doesn't quite get taken off here, and he keeps on challenging it, and he wins it out against Nikes, leaving only Nifsu here as he drops down. And Denster! What a round from him, as it would have been an ace if he hadn't only confirmed the down. Wowee!
That is absolutely outrageous. Denster walking right into the arms of Grim there in that E-box location. Both players whiffing that actually, but Denster getting those kills later in the round. Just absolutely phenomenal, out of this world performance from the Valkyrie there.
Okay, now that the dust has settled a little bit, let me attempt my little group exercise again. I want everyone in chat, I want you guys, please, to drop a 1 if you are a serial shield hater. I want you to drop a 2 if you are a shield lover. I want you to drop a 3 if you have no idea what I'm talking about. And I want you to drop a 4 if you love turtles. Anyone that knows that reference, thank you very much. We'll be getting the Jinxie fanboys joining the chat very shortly. As we head into our second round here on Bank, we'll be heading to the top floor. As Denster, he's decided to pick an Oryx, the fastest operator in Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. Certain content creators would say I'm really trying to get out all of the niche references here within one fell swoop. But we'll be seeing interesting execute operators coming through once again from the side of Rastin and Jags. Denster, he's already lurking, ready and waiting in this garage here. He's going to try and go for that run out to clear out anyone playing onto those windows early on.
Yeah, if I was Denster here, I'd be doing the exact same thing. After a round like that, you have no choice but to start feeling yourself and start turning up the heat on the opponents. If Denster's recent performances are anything to go by on, he's just a monster on every operator he plays, and the confidence will be oversurging here.
No, absolutely, and he just needs to play off of that. He's had so many kind of confidence rounds and confidence in maps, even, you could go as far as to say, throughout this tournament already. We saw it on Fortress a few times. We've seen it on plenty of other maps. So he's just going to continue to try and play off of that wherever he can. And honestly, if it keeps working, why not go for it?
Exactly. You're not... the strategy isn't stupid if it works. And while Oryx isn't the most popular operator, maybe quite falling out of the meta, not quite finding that use case scenario for Oryx that would be ideal. You know, a hard counter for shields, sure, but still a risky play if you do go dashing into the shields, especially in competitive play. But that T5 SMG will be very well put to use in the hands of Denster, as we have gotten a little bit of a more quiet round now, a minute and 15 seconds off the clock, and still no real first entry engagements gotten here for either side, actually.
Bank is one of those maps where either it's incredibly explosive early on, or the rounds kind of take a little bit of time to catch up to speed here. As Mateen, he gets dealt a good amount of damage. Lambe being taken out by Denster there. So that is that Oryx coming in handy already. He's going to have to work his way back to the site. There's one breach is open, then the second will be attempted here as well. The smoke grenade here, holding off that swing for just a while longer here. Riddick still playing over into that janitor position. Fire coming through, clearing out the position of Denster here. But Riddick managing to pick up Nifsu as well, the player that was playing close on the breach there. That will be the thermite gone, but breaches are opened, so that won't be all too problematic for them here. As Riddick, he's going to look to contest this stock jump in now.
We're now below a minute of time on the clock, and a lead for Meisterska. I would like to remind that this is in theory at least, attacker-sided map, but as we saw yesterday, the statistics do not always favor reason here or what happens on MEISTERSCHAFT. As we have a kill from Ranker onto Rustin, actually. Denster getting that last one, getting the other one as well. Just T5 SMG going to work. Nothing else to say.
I mean, honestly, at this point, Denster might just be the absolute undisputed GOAT. I really can't think of the last time that I saw someone demolishing lobbies like this. It would probably be Croxon, to be honest, in large swoops of Combine here. He obviously didn't manage to make his way into the grand final, losing out to MEISTERSCHAFT and Panohona, the two teams that we're seeing here in this grand final. Them taking out the side of Tabini Kapos yesterday on this very map, actually. Well, I guess not necessarily on this map, but it was one of the maps played by Panohona yesterday, as they look to do one better here against MEISTERSCHAFT, but so far it's not really working their way, as we'll be seeing MEISTERSCHAFT returning to the Maestro here. Denster, he said he's had enough fun on the quick operator, so now he's going to take an approach for a slightly slower one that sits back a little bit more. Always nice to see a humble king like this being able to go off of the fragging operators and take a little bit of utility in his hands.
You say take a little bit of utility in his hands, but I've talked to extent about how much I do love that LMG. It is a ridiculously mean killing machine. 80 rounds in a clip, high fire rate. What else could you possibly ask for in a gun for the defense? As we see MEISTERSCHAFT going onto that tertiary site, as you said. Now, a site that Panohona should technically have that advantage on, as it is a little bit weaker than the other sites on this map. Other sites that are played, I should say, as Tellers is not a very good site to be playing in any level of competition.
It isn't necessarily, but we have seen it played a few times with some varying levels of success, especially when you can hold really heavily onto that top floor. It is very easy to find your way into and get some planting positions down. So we see that Valkyrie again doing a lot of damage here, feeding back all this information onto the windows, onto the window players. It's kind of default play early on with the Ram to open up a lot of that verticality onto that Tellers and Archives position here. And so that's going to make the life of Mateen a little bit more challenging, as he needs to dance around those verticals if he wants to have any impact on the round. But of course, it does also open up the possibility for him to throw a C4 through those windows. So we see actually Denster, I believe, he was prone in lobby here. Looking to contest these windows early on with the information being fed back by the Valkyrie.
Very, very brave play by Maestro there. But indeed, this information has been very useful to the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, and I do think Panohona will be looking to ban out some of these intel operators. No ban needed for the Maestro, as Denster does go down to Lambe on the IQ. But still, we do have the C4 in the hands of Evan and Mateen, looking to play off of these cameras that the Maestro has left behind and that the Valkyrie still has up.
Yep, Denster down, round to Panohona. I'm happy to call it here. Let's move on to the next one. Mateen managing to pick off the drone here, so he takes away the information that was being used to attempt to work towards a clear here, as we see Nikas using his Flores drones here, the Arteros, to be able to open up a way of entry onto the site. As we see Jags very slowly approaching this breach here on the quad wall, opening up another wall here as well, so that the longer lines of sight into the bomb site are enabled. As we see Mateen, he's taken out by the Jags there. As Riddick, he manages to swing up and above and get the refrag at the very least. And so with a minute to go and the man advantage here, Panohona, they will be working towards an execute, but they've lost the control of stock that they worked so hard for.
Lost control indeed, but these players are a bit positioned offside right now, as we see Ranker being the only person actually inside of admin offices near that site. As we see Goshik also going down to Rostin. So I think the boiler room is about to turn up the heat on Ranker here, and Evan will have to hurry back to site to help his comrade. As we see Nikas droning out, getting the position of that Denari player confirmed, as Lambe looks to swing that guy out and get maybe side control for the side of Panohona.
Nifsu taking out Evan here, leaving only Ranko with his Scorpion in pocket. Taking out Nifsu here as well. Flashbang will come through as he finds Nikas as well. And so he gets the third here, but Lambe swinging through just in time to deny the 1 versus 4 clutch here. And I couldn't even really get excited there for a second. The refrag was so clean. But that drop coming through from the Buck was definitely questionable, to say the very least. We'll be heading into the operator bans here. Now, as both teams get the ability to ban out any operators that they might deem to have been too powerful for the past few, as they look to remove some options here for the other side. Valkyrie being taken out on the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. Not very surprising there at all, as we see the solid Snake band out for the side of Panahonet, an operator that hasn't been all too influential yet so far in this series, but one that definitely can run away with rounds if given the opportunity to. As we've said before here, it is still a typically attacker-sided map. And so Panahonet, they will be looking to continue this round win, but even that one, it was so convincing for long periods of the round. But Franco just showing off here that he does have the ability to clutch out if he absolutely needs to. Evan going for this reinforcement here from that server wall, placing down that mirror window to be able to deny the breaches here. Of course, Jegs on the AC will be able to breach regardless of that mirror window being placed. One of the nice little quirks of throwable breach utility, and Lambe on the Hibana being able to do so as well. The hard breach gadgets of Nikes and Nifsu, they wouldn't be able to do it if they needed to, but when you bring true range hard breaches, you kind of hope that it doesn't get to that point.
You do indeed hope for that it doesn't get to that point, but you have two range hard breaches here, as I am still where I do apologize, lost internet connection for a second, so I'm a bit thrown off now. But we are back into game right now, and we have that Hibana, we have that capability to get these breaches now alive as we head into the fourth round after the bans. We have that Valkyrie that I did talk about being taken out, and that Solid Snake actually. So information kind of reduced for the both sides of this matchup right now.
Absolutely. We see the approach here coming back through that top square position as well. Gonna have to clear out the roam here. Ghost Riddick spotted out, entering that archives position, so the location of him will roughly be known, at least to the attacks of Panahonet. Of course, getting a more specific or precise location onto a Vigil is always a bit of a challenge here. As we finally see Nifsu making his approach here. As Riddick, he's going to be facing into him. The shot coming through and taking out Nifsu there. The Boss G doing big work on that close range here. So a good shot from Riddick there. See, very high risk, high reward ratio gun. But in this case, he's absolutely rewarded for his efforts.
Absolutely isn't. That's a monumental operator to lose that Urzi. Nifsu on that Capita, that reduces the execute potential. That is so also important on a site like this. Maybe flaming out that the Tachanka playing inside of side, disabling these long angles. It's a very tough position that Panahonet are put in now, as this is a very defender favorite site. Is very is very good for the defense all the way, and that losing the Capita doesn't make it any easier for the attack.
I really hope that Denster doesn't lose this round, because otherwise I'm going to have to get a little bit angry with him for getting distracted there. If the chat could ignore the chat, that would be very much appreciated, as he still has a little bit of an interesting position here, actually. Thank you for the Observer showing that to us here, as he's still tucked all the way into Electrical, while the rest of Panahonet look to make that push towards server, and if they don't join him out, he could become a very dangerous role here, as he manages to swing through and kill Lambe. Rastin does get the refrag, but it does simplify the round a little bit for the defensive side of MEISTERSCHAFT here, taking out that hard breach, but Jegs, he managed to pick off Mateen. And so now it becomes a bit of a weird situation here for the side of Panahonet, because they picked off of the ace, Jegs electing to go for the gridlock instead, and Denster managed to get rid of the Hibana. That means there is no more ability for the side of Panahonet to effectively open up this breach, which means that they will have to push through the doorways. But Ranka, he's on the Tachanka, so he can still deny all of that positioning if he needs to, as well as the long angle of the Boss G and the mirror window that's also still available.
18 Shumiha launches in pocket with 40 seconds on the clock. That is more than enough to deny that plan for the rest of this round, actually. And even if that should somehow fail, Evan does have the C4 maxing capability in his pocket as well. You do see Ghost Riddick going down to frosting ACOG versus ACOG violence. Ranker on very low HP, position known, but does get Boston actually with the LMG. As we see a drop coming through, Ranker does go down. Evan, the last one alive inside of Gold Ball, as Jegs does put the plant down here.
He can't quite find the shots to the first time around. C4 comes out and does manage to find Nikes. Now Evan, he's going to have to swing through the plant. Is down, missing the shots here. Jegs doesn't manage to confirm it. He's hit the floor. Evan is doing absolute breakdance madness here on the ground. He stands up now to try and go back for the gunfight. Both of these players not really filling themselves with glory during this gunfight, but Jegs managing to win it out towards the end there. The sick moves of Evan, not quite enough to confirm the round at the very end. Maybe he should have just focused on using his gun there at the very end, but unfortunately, for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, Panahonet will be able to confirm this round, even though it looked like they were in a really strong position for a long time. That drop coming in through red stairs, that Grim just being able to drop that hatch, not being able to be contested early on from Evan, that was the problem that undid the entire round. Good C4 there, but at the very end, a little bit of a misplay coming through from both of them.
Misplay or the greatest mid off you've ever seen, as do some streamers like to say. But we do head back up down to that top floor that was a little bit more successful for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, if I do remember correctly. We can forget all about that base round. It's in the past now, and I'm sure that Evan would also like to forget about that breakdance off. But we head down to the top floor, and we still have that Maestro out that Denster does like to play. So I'm very interested to see what he'll will be doing this round.
Absolutely, this double plant deny combination is one that we did definitely see quite a lot at least 6 years ago. I'm not so sure about the recency of that, but hey, maybe I am just washed up at the end of the day. Definitely having the ability to provide a lot of information. At least the Echo has been powerful on a lot of different sites, but typically when you're playing into roaming setups where you can use those Echo drones to be able to provide information to the roamers and kind of act as a pseudo drone on that defense. Obviously not so much of the case here, as a lot of these plays and players will be happening around the bomb site. So Evan in a little bit more of a dangerous situation, especially if Lambe does manage to go below here. If he manages to find Evan on cams, and he'll be able to take him out without needing to go into an actual gunfight engagement here. But only time will tell how that utility will be used, if he'll be using it just to clear out the Echo drones, or if he'll be using it to try and clear out Evan as a player as a whole.
Lambe not electing to go first floor, even though there is no resistance from the side of MEISTERSCHAFT on that first floor. All defenders are up on that second floor near that bomb site. Well, Lambe does not go for these kills. Apparently, he's still going for the utility. So we kind of have an answer to your query earlier. So we see Nifsu going onto that thermite. So we can most likely have an educated guess here as to where that execute is going. It most definitely is going square side here, at least as the plan A of Panuhone.
I do like these long angles here opened up by the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. Impact Trick coming through as well to deny a little bit of that breach onto that canto wall here. But of course, even the smallest breach here will be enough, as the repel angle will be able to put pressure even through those high holes here. But for the time being, the rotate is going to come through here from Nick, as he won't want to contest that early on, as he's going to go for a fight here with Ghost Riddick instead. See Nifsu close on the breach as well, looking to open up those walls the way that he did in the previous round as well. As Jags, he takes a little bit of damage from those Maestro cams. Breach will now come through. Impact could be available to be able to deny that here. If he managed to find the lineup through that smoke, won't be able to do so, and so that breach is open. Panuhone working towards their objective here. They do still have the Echo cams and the Maestro cams to contest with. Rastin has hacked into some of them, and so they have the ability to deny here, but Meitini, he just decides to swing out and pick up Nifsu.
That is a very, very nice swing out. Nifsu laying down on the ground with no protection actually from his teammates. Do still, but that thermite did do his job. He got those walls open. So there is no real value out to Nifsu's life outside of that gun. He already did his job, and we'll see how this execute goes forward with Panuhone with a one-man advantage to MEISTERSCHAFT.
That's exactly what they will want as well. 30 seconds left on the round here. The IQ scanner coming out for another attempt, another search at any utility that he might be able to find. But now that those breaches have been opened, he needs to be very aware of these long angles that can be contested. Ghost Riddick managing to pick off the ace of Nikas here as well. They're going to be working towards the site. 20 seconds left to go. Ranka does have a DMR with an ACOG as well, so he will love those long angles. He's taking a lot of damage here as well, though, from the shots coming through from Rastin. Jags is going to swing in here. He's going to have to go for it, but Ranka manages to find him on the long angle. Swing coming in now, but Metin confirms him as well, and it's a flawless round here for MEISTERSCHAFT. Another defensive round here, maybe not what we expected, but MEISTERSCHAFT on the map pick of Panuhone are definitely showing that they're not out of this yet.
They are indeed not out of it. So a very nice lead for MEISTERSCHAFT, as this map is overall attacker sided. We see MEISTERSCHAFT getting 3 rounds minimum on their defense, looking for that 4th inside of lockers and CCTV room again. So we have to see how Panuhone deals with this. They did win that last attack onto this same site, but MEISTERSCHAFT have some new tricks up their sleeve, if I am reading this operator lineup correctly.
If there's one thing that Denster has, it is plenty of tricks up his sleeve, and it's another really good map from him here. Obviously, he started off really, really strong here with a 4K on the first round and a 3K on the round following it. Since then, he has dropped off a little bit, and so reading into those stats, maybe some people will look at it one way, but it doesn't quite tell the full story here, as he's been struggling recently a little bit, letting his teammates like Ranka, for example, go into it a little bit. Of course, 3 of his kills also came in that 3 versus 1 situation, which ultimately didn't really lead to anything. But when you think about those 2 rounds that Panuhone won, they were very, very close. Whereas the defenses going the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, they looked a lot more convincing here. And so this could easily also be a 5-0 defensive split for MEISTERSCHAFT here if 1 or 2 gunfights, or actually exactly 2 gunfights, had gone a different way. And so Panahoane, they'll definitely be thinking about that as they go into this final attack. They need to win it, but they don't just need to win it in any way, shape, or form. They really need to win it convincingly if they want to take that motivation and that confidence into the following rounds. Oh my god.
One tapping Yegs out into oblivion. Goodbye to that fuse that could be also important in clearing out the utility on site. Not available for now, but yes, I do agree with you. Like, I do not... I'm questioning the fact that Panahoane even went to bank, as we did see them losing out on yesterday, and it's not a map that they're particularly known for either. So maybe a little bit of a weaker map for them, but clearly they had some sort of idea, some sort of game plan coming to this map, and they're clearly confident in it as it is their pick. But still, kind of not getting what out of these attacks what they might have hoped for, as we see MEISTERSCHAFT do still have the lead, the round account advantage right now, and they have the advantage in this round as well, as we see Mateen actually going down and Panahoane looking to equalize that man count. But still, 1 minute off the clock, and they're no closer to the bomb site than they were.
No, they're not, but they did manage to find a kill for their trouble, so they did get something out of it at least. They managed to find a second here as well as Denster. He gets taken out on this round, leaving only Riddick, Ranker, and Evan alive here. They do still have a lot of utility to work with. Of course, Echo with those cams, Ranker with those Shumika fires, and Riddick still holding a C4 in pocket as well. So they definitely do have the tools that they need, but if we look at what the side of Panahoane have as well, they still have some breaches available, 4 of those Grimbees, and all of the utility which Capitao brings, together with a Twitch drone and 2 smokes on her, 2 flashbangs on the Hibana as well. So you can really just keep on going and going and going. And so with 1 minute and 10 on the clock, they will have more than enough time to work out what they want to do here, to set up a plan and to really execute it to perfection. Exactly what Panahoane is known for doing as well. They love to go for these plants, and they do still have Nifsu alive and well with that diffuser in hand.
Full utility inside of the Capitao's pocket, as well as we see Nikias only having used 1 B inside of this whole round. Usually you're not that happy losing 2 roamers onto on a roam, leaving yourself in a 4 versus 3 situation, but on a map like Bank, where that basement is so hard to crack, actually, you are very, very happy trading whatever amount of lives you have to for that time advantage, as time is exactly what we'll be battling against Panahoane as they go for the execute, with Ranker going down to Lambe again very early on for the backstab from main.
20 seconds left to go here. Shots coming out as well. Evan is confirmed finally, and it's only Riddick left here. He managed to get that opening pick, but since then it's only been Panahoane with the kills going their way. C4 comes out, doesn't manage to find anyone. Nikas, he's hit by that thorn mine, but not enough to kill him. So now Riddick, he's going to have to try and go for a swing around here. He only has 28 seconds left, and he looks away at the worst time possible. Ladies and gentlemen, the next time you talk about siege timing, remember what just happened to Ghost Riddick. And ultimately, you probably would not have made much of a difference in the round, but taking away that 1 extra kill makes you just feel that slightly bit better. So we go into a 3-3 round swap here. Like we said here, this is typically an attacker-sided map. And so while we get a 3-3 round swap once again, this time it's favoring the side of MEISTERSCHAFT.
It is indeed, and I would still say MEISTERSCHAFT have had a better showing on this map, whatever these rounds may have looked like. But MEISTERSCHAFT have had the more solid performance, I would say. When they win these rounds, as you said, they win them very convincingly, and when they lose these rounds, they're not that crushing victories for the side of Panahoane. We see some mistakes coming out, as for example, Evan getting caught on that yokai cam, not looking at that flank from main that came out from that Hibana, but still close rounds, and they could have gone either way at the end. We could be looking at a 4-2 half for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT going into their own attacking half, but we unfortunately live in reality, and this is a 3-3, so we'll have to see how Panahoane does on the defense here, as we see the bans coming through. Montaigne and an ace, we get that Montaigne shield out. That's not a thing people want to deal with these days, and we see 1 range hard breach coming out. That makes the top floor a little bit easier to play for the side of Panahoane, and we see that Mira and that Kite, quite standard bans on a map like this. Mira very useful, of course, that Arcade Operator, and Kite disabling these hatches on this basement, which elevates that site even further up on the list of the defenders, as this is the primary site that people want to go to. It is very strong for the side of defenders, and no wonder why when those hatches do stay closed.
Absolutely, and Well, I do understand the bans coming out. You really do have to think about it because Bank is such a roam-heavy map as well, so I don't understand why operators like Jackal aren't being banned out here. Obviously, such a strong operator when it comes to clearing out the roam.
You couldn't keep a straight face for even the entirety of that sentence.
I really tried. I really did my very best, but I just couldn't do it. I'm so sorry.
Jackal. What do we do with that operator? Clearly too overpowered to be nerfed. I think we should leave that at the just ban that out. That's like release Lion at this point. Just like, get that out of the game permanently. Way too strong.
I mean, Lion is definitely one you can make a bit of an argument for, at least because it does get picked quite frequently by sides when they want to bring nades or something like that. Maybe that's a nice little buff for Jackal to get here. If we give him nades, maybe he'll start seeing a little bit of play again at least. But nevertheless, in this round, he won't be brought to the table as operators like Deimos and Dokkaebi are available, those being the two preferential operators when it comes to clearing out that roam. And we'll be seeing the Azami of Nifsu here playing into open area. Wallbang's coming through as well, but he manages to drop down here as he gets pressured from the Blitz and also the Capitao of Rank. And that Blitz is just going to keep on running. He's just going to keep on putting pressure on. He gets shield locked, and so he's going to have to slow down a little bit, but it looks like they were ignoring the top floor, and that might become a problem as Lambe has a bit of an off position here. Never mind. Evan is above, but Nifsu, he finds Ghost Riddick, and now he's going to push back up those stairs as well now that the shield is all alone. As we see the defense triangulating on his position, Jegs with that Boss G managing to pick off Evan as well. Lambe has been down now, and this is turning into a dogfight on the top floor. Densa does confirm Lambe, but Jegs here with a double. He picks him off as well. It's going from bad from worse to Maestro as they're now in a 4v2 situation with no real map control to speak of.
That Vigil gadget coming in very clutch. Maestro Eska's attack just being quite kind of oblivious as to the exact positioning of these defenders, not having a grasp on the fact that Nifsu did come up those marble main stairs again. Not quite knowing maybe that Lambe was on that top floor, but not really having a grasp on the capabilities of Yegs, and that really came back to bite them in the round as he uses that Bosch to very, very good effect.
Yeah, we saw it happening on Border, and we're seeing it again now. These roam games of Panohone really, really strong here as Mateen does manage to find one for his troubles at the very least. He'll be more than happy to take that, put down onto such low HP that essentially every single one of the guns that Panohone are bringing will act as a DMR, finishing him off in just that one shot. He does have a very nice long angle here, which he will be looking to play with. Nikas getting called here so that the Echo drones stay at bay for just a little bit longer. He sees the peaks coming through and a few pre-fires as well, a few jiggle peaks here from both sides. Also, one tick of the fire will be enough to confirm him. Peaks continue to come through. Mateen, he's just going to try and get at least one more as the Echo Stun comes through as well. Red King flying through, and Rastin with his dinner plate LMG finishing off the round here as well. Mateen not able to confirm a second kill for himself. And so we will be seeing that first defensive round swing the side of Panohone once again, similarly as we did over on Border. 3-3 swap, and then the side that was trading behind winning out that first round, or at least Panohone in this case. And it looks like Maestro Eska, they got slowed down quite substantially by that roam here. So maybe my anti-Jackal propaganda wasn't warranted, as that Vigil really came back to bite them later on. Evan just isolated as soon as his teammate got caught out there by the main stairs position of the Azami. And they will be having to attack the top floor here now. The roam game a little bit more challenging over on this side, but they will have to watch out for rat plays like the one of Evan, or of Denster, sorry, when he was laying himself down in lobby.
I do like to play the devil's advocate here, and I will be giving Maestro Eska the benefit of the doubt. That is, as I said, the strongest site on the map for the side of the defense. That basement side, the toughest to crack, and the rest of these sites are a little bit easier to attack. So we'll have to see if Panohone can hold on to this top floor site that has been seeing a similar trajectory to maps like Cafe, where the top floor isn't quite as favored as it used to be in the past. Still a very playable side, of course, but not that bastion for the defense that it used to be.
Absolutely not, and this might be a bit of a hot take, but I genuinely do think that this top floor site is now pretty terrible, just because of how much utility you have to clear out power positions. You know, you can bring the Capitao, you can bring the Grim, you can bring the Dokkaebi, you can bring the Zephyr triple impacts and all of that, and it just enables you to clear out that janitor position so easily and effectively, and that really is the kind of key position to work for together with that stock position, of course. But really, other than Azami, there are no operators that can consistently hold that down either. So I just think it's so difficult to really do anything with that window pressure, with being able to play on the lobby repels, etc., etc. You have so many angles to worry about that you get locked down so easily, as Lambe did early on as well, being picked off here by the Lion DMR of Ranker, and that secondary DMR of Jegs here, which they do love to play so very much, will get droned out below. And so he's going to be tasked with holding down that push of Denster on the Nook here. If he swings through, he will likely lose his life, but it's a bit of a game of cat and mouse here. Who's going to peek first as Evan picks off Rastin? And we see Evan here on that upside down rappel on the staircase at a little bit of a peculiar angle. Jexy's going to have to rotate through and away. He gets the drone here, manages to crouch through the angle. One on the Spider-Man rappel here. Phone is exploded. Mateen picking off Nikas. I've just been talking and talking and talking, but Jegs, he loses as well. And it's a flawless round for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT.
Talking and talking. Indeed, that round was over so quickly. I didn't even have a chance to really react to anything that was happening there. But what you said about that top floor did come through. It is not that good anymore, honestly. And I do believe in this is tier 1 competition. We're playing tier 2, which are a little bit different. But in tier 1, that tertiary side of staff and open area that Panahoona are heading to right now is actually a little bit more favored and is statistically a little bit more better than that top floor. Most teams will wait until they get that third ban through to go to that top floor side, usually banning that secondary range heartbeat of Hibana. But that really didn't matter now, as we had some Spider-Man rappels, we had some ridiculous angles that the side of MEISTERSCHAFT were playing that Panahoona just wasn't ready for, and got some early picks off of these repelling angles that Bank is very much known for.
Absolutely, being able to play for the repels is such a key thing on the outside usually of those windows, but MEISTERSCHAFT flipping the script a little bit and playing a lot more for the repels that are inside of the map, but not something that you typically see all too much. Though those Spider-Man repels have been gaining a lot of popularity because of the deeper angles that they offer, now that you don't have that roof angle all the way from top garage through the windows and lobby all the way into sight. Those were serious days when people would sit on there with Glaz or Callie when she just got released and just hold the deepest angles pretty much all the way through the map. Like 100+ meter angles with that sniper rifle was just the most disgusting thing to challenge against. See, back then more defenders had DMRs as well, so it was a little bit more friendly. But none of that here, as that reinforcement comes in just in time here from Nikas to be able to play down into the site here. Evan having opened up a little bit of an angle together with the Zafira of Ranko. And we see a pretty split approach here early on from MEISTERSCHAFT.
Split approach, but very self-sufficient, as we see that triple information gathering operators coming through. We see Deimos, we see the Snake, we see the Dokkaebi, and we see a pseudo information gathering operator of Denster. Actually, I'm very sorry, Denster, I just cast her curse. Lambe taking him down on that IQ, searching for these electricity, these cameras from the Valkyrie. Of course, these cameras will go unhunted now that the Valkyrie is dead, but still a lot of information for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, along with that Zofia from Ranker to get rid of these zombie barricades if necessary.
Nade coming through here, and the wallbang of Riddick as well manages to finish off Nifsu. Man count restored here for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. With 1 minute 40 off the clock, they're going to have to make some serious work of it here, but Nikas's position seems to be unknown, and if he swings around, looks like he does just hear the footsteps there, Evan, so he manages to look up at the right time. He picks off the player of Jegs on side as he's just gone for the drop here. Riddick falling right behind him, a flank drone thrown above to be able to hold on to these positions here as Rastin, he's locked over into stock. Lambe gets a second of the round onto Mateen here, but the plant has been put down now. Maestros will be popped and will work against the side of Panahoona as it will deny the entry for 25 seconds, meaning they only have 20 seconds left to work on that diffuser.
What a sneaky drop, getting stock control very early in a position that Nikkei was not expecting, but the hatch is still open, and that plant is quite inside of the open. As we see Ghost Riddick losing his head, Evan inside, Ranker getting one from Square as well. Rastin picking one onto Ranker, Evan getting one, and this is a 1 versus 1, Lampe versus Evan right now, with very little time to get the kill and confirm the defuse.
There's only 3 more seconds for him to get the kill and start the defuse, and he's figured that out as well, so he's going to have to start setting it down now. The nade comes through, but he misses the nade, so he has to go for the vault here and hit the head. He does just about. It got really close here. That nade just hitting off of the fire extent. What are those things even called? The little thing that the water shoots out when there's fire in the building.
Sprinklers, it is.
The sprinkler, that's the word. Thank you very much. The nade bouncing off the sprinkler there and almost losing the round for MEISTERSCHAFT after they played it so well. Evan initiating that plant sequence and also finishing it off there. Good round from the secondary or the second IGL of MEISTERSCHAFT as they managed to go ahead here 5-4 on the attacking half. And they're looking to take away the map from Panahoona that they even picked.
They are indeed, as we see these secondary bans coming out, final ban phase for this map in particular. We do see that Valkyrie being banned out. It's an operator that both teams actually have used to very great effect. It's just the information gathering abilities of that Valkyrie are invaluable in most cases. It's a set and forget gadget. You can roam with it, and then your teammates can hold these cameras, just being very good overall. And then we see that Deimos coming out, one of the information operators. So Panuhane have decided to go for a little bit of a split ban approach. We ban one shield, we ban one heartbeat, we ban one information operator, just weakening MEISTERSCHAFT marginally on all of sides of this meta right now that we are in. But still, that Dokkaebi and that Snake available for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, and they are bringing indeed both of these operators right now. So heading back down to basement, we'll see how MEISTERSCHAFT approaches this one.
This is the nice thing about the banning system, is that when you play against teams that crunch very heavily on one thing, like you could have argued, for example, in Pro League for a good amount of time, and we did see this happen as well, that Fnatic crutched quite heavily on the shields because of how proficient Smith is on them. A lot of teams will have just gone in and banned 3 of those shield operators. But against teams like MEISTERSCHAFT, for example, that don't crutch as heavily on one set of operators like shield, information gathering, can't deny, execute, for example, you do just tend to ban one of each to make sure that they can't play any of their flexible strats quite as much, because you know that if you ban out one thing, they will just abuse another. And one thing that Denster is definitely abusing is that beautiful new DMR that got added a few patches ago here, taking out Lambe, winning out that ACOG on ACOG violence, as you call it. The drop comes back into sight here. Echo Drone will be driven in to fire back some information, but Evan takes out Jegs here early on. And so it's a man advantage situation as Denster gets another 2, a triple kill from the DMR here before he gets shut down by Nikes, but he's alone now against 4. And there's nothing you can do when the choo-choo train comes rolling through. He gets taken down by the Glass of Mateen, and it is a match point for MEISTERSCHAFT.
Match point, and I think Denster has just beautifully demonstrated to us why maintaining control of Garage is very, very important on a site like CCTV on bank. Just that the amount of control that you can have from Garage, cutting those lines of sight, just making that red hallway just unplayable for the defense, and with that DMR that is that long range weapon that does have that ACOG, just a fantastic play from the side of Denster, picking up those kills almost single-handedly, winning the round for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT and putting them on match point.
Absolutely. Side of Panuhane, they will try to head back to the top floor where they were previously, without even wanting to sound mean, very unsuccessful. Their previous defense of this top floor was anything but good. And so they're going to try it again. They will be bringing the Clash this time. And so they're trying a slightly different approach. They want to remove some of those angles and some of those possibilities from the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, who will bring here the Nomad to specifically counter that Clash shield being brought out. They do, of course, still have the Solus of Nifsu, who will likely be playing down below to be able to deny the plants should it get to that point, as well as Rastan and Jegs, who bring 2 of those Breach Deny operators to keep that Kanto wall closed, while the double DMRs are at play once again, as we know Panuhane like to do so very much. See the range hard breach coming through from Denster. He will try to open up that wall, but he will be encountered with those banded batteries, together with the 2 Baral, and so that won't be quite as easy as he would have liked.
Not maybe quite as easy as he would like breaching that, but he still does have the DMR in hand that he did demonstrate last round that he very much knows how to use, and ACOG on ACOG violence again. Lambe falling for the 2nd time on that particular operator in a row, I do think. That's one of these ACOGs that you just mentioned, that DMRs that Panuhane does love to play, challenging these angles. Gone with not even a minute off the clock inside of this round, so that's a very, very monumental loss for the side of Panuhane. We do still have that shield up. We do still have that DMR in the hands of Yegs to challenge the angles, but it's a very, very big loss.
Yeah, it's definitely a massive loss, especially because that position, we saw it when MEISTERSCHAFT were defending it, actually. Ranker being able to play around that position with the DMR, so influential, but that will be taken off the board here for Panuhane. Of course, they do still have a secondary DMR that they can utilize if they need to. Nikes trying to go for a swing here to catch the Thermite vaulting through, but Ranker on the upside down rappel catches them out. So now that's the Clash off the board as well. Those are the 2 strongest operators and the 2 strongest positions that you had on the side of Panuhane. And MEISTERSCHAFT, they're just looking to run over them here on the remainder of the site.
A lot of Panuhane being forced into these small areas there. 2 people inside of long desk make that 1 as Denster handily takes off the head of Nifsu, but not a very pleasant position to be for anyone on Panohane. As we see, Ghost Rig does go down to Rostin, but the plan is going down from the side of Evan. Mateen picks up Rostin, and it is Yegg's turn to take his own life, as Halva did yesterday, not wanting to play the round out anymore and just forfeiting the map to MEISTERSCHAFT, and we are indeed heading to the third one.
We will be heading to map 3 as we see the last round here playing out once again. And at the very end, Jakes didn't want to give that scoreboard boost to any of the players on the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. Denster dropping 13 kills here in this round, so he didn't want to let him go for 14, as he thought, hey, that ego boost is not something that we need to do, taking away that opportunity. We see here Ranka swinging out from the Clash Shield, and that's one of those pivotal moments in the round that really took it away then at the end for the side of Panohane. They will be heading into Lair now, the decider map that we have here. Hosts, take it away for us.
Yeah, and it was really a fantastic bounce back from the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. Indeed, they will not go quiet into that dark night. And it really was just a tale of two halves. In that first half, Panohane, they just could not get the attack rolling. And when the side swap came through, MEISTERSCHAFT, they could get that attack rolling, and they just could not be stopped. It looked like Panohane was going to start strong and close it out on that defense, but MEISTERSCHAFT, they had a fantastic attacking side, and it really just came down to the methodical roam clear out of MEISTERSCHAFT.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head here. Something that I really found interesting is that after like 1.5 years, Stan is still hiding in main lobby. It's absolutely amazing to see that he's still trying to get away with it. He almost got away with it, so good for him. But I hope at some point teams start catching on to Dan's little tricks, because I know he has a couple of those up his sleeve on Bank, and as we've seen, the fast takes, like the change of pace on MEISTERSCHAFT's attack, where they took it slow, then took it fast, and then they rushed, and they just tried whatever they felt like. There was not like a clear, let's play slow, let's play for those picks, let's just do what we feel like. And I think that's kind of like the tale of how this attack side went. On the first half was like, okay, this is like really close, like this could actually maybe go to overtime. But then after we had the side swap, after we had the side swap, we already seen like, okay, MEISTERSCHAFT is here to play, and then the sacrificial, well, C4 honorable kill at the end of the game just really like showed like, okay, Panohane has like really no recipe against what MEISTERSCHAFT is doing. And it's kind of also speaks for the preparation of both of those teams taking away each other's map pick. I think that's always showing like the preparation is so good that you are taking the map from the opposing team away just by being so prepared and knowing exactly what to expect. And yeah, I think that just gives us some insight on we should like appreciate some of the stuff that support staff is doing on both of those teams.
Yeah, I completely agree. And
oh yeah, I see someone else agreeing to that.
It goes to show that the pace change we saw from Panohane on border specifically, they changed up the pace on their attacks, and it ended up being the monumental factor that ended up securing them that map. And when we moved over to Bank, Panohane, they kind of went to a standard same pace pretty much every single round on their attack, and it was actually MEISTERSCHAFT that was the ones to find the pace changes in the right moments to secure the map for themselves. Now, we have to talk about it because Panohane picked Bank. They played Bank yesterday and they lost it 8-7 against Tabrini Karpus. Was it maybe just an over-index on we're confident enough to play Bank against MEISTERSCHAFT? We think we're better. We're just going to win it, even if it's not necessarily our best map. And it really did just bite them in the butt because they did lose it, and it didn't really look like they were comfortable in any instance throughout these rounds. And they could have indexed into a different map, whereas they ended up going with Bank. Now we're moving on to Lair. They played it yesterday as well. They won it against Kokosi. I believe they also won it up against Tabrini Karpus. And this is a map that they are going to be feeling confident on. So for MEISTERSCHAFT, they need to make sure that they don't go into their safe spot. They don't just play it safe. They make sure that they change the pace. They don't let Panaone get comfortable. Otherwise, I feel like Panaone are just going to play their game and they're just going to be able to secure it.
Yeah, I think that is something that we seen a lot on tier 2, that teams are overestimating how good they are on a certain map. I think that is a really big topic in tier 2, where teams would rather go to map that they're more comfortable on. Like I seen it myself, where teams would like straight up deny playing a map even though they're really good on it, just because they don't feel like as confident on it. And it takes like some convincing as a coach to like, let's try it, let's go to this map. And then when the results come to roll in and you see you are winning the map that you actually don't really like, some players start to realize, okay, maybe we should stop just playing what we feel confident on. And I think this could be the case for Bank, where they say, hey, we really like this map. Maybe it's not our best pick, but we feel confident on it. Let's just go with what we know, and let's just not go with any unknowns, so to say. So I think in general the ban phase itself kind of like skews a bit into Maestro Eska's favor, but we've also seen yesterday how good Panahune can be on layer. So I think like this third map really comes down to like just playing these like basics. Especially we need more trading on the opening kills on Maestro Eska's side. I think it has been good for them that Lumber got picked off 2 or 3 times in a row. But we cannot expect that this is going to happen on layer as well. So we really, like Master SK really needs to make sure that they are trying to trade back as soon as possible and not getting Panahune run away with a 4-5 lead into the late round stages. I think that's going to be like the tale of layers, basically, like who plays the basics better. And you said it perfectly. Like the Master SK is not a team, or I think it was Haircut that said it. They're not really a team that is like skewing into being like, they are the shield team, they are the blitz team, they are the Ying glass team. They can just play whatever they want. Like we seen it, like they play like a triple Intel composition on one round, and then they play like the Ying the glass blitz on the other round. I think that is really like a big advantage Masker has. And yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to Leia. I'm really looking forward to Leia.
Yeah, and now Herker, break it down. The defense for the side of Maestresca, how were they able to kind of nullify what Panahone wanted to do on the attack to get that 3-3 half?
Well, they really went in for these opening picks and these ratty plays, and that is very much attributed to Denster, in fact. Seeing that E-Box hideout there, because Panahone are a team that very much likes to go for the executes. They're a very basics-heavy team of I clear out the map, then I set up for the execute for a little bit, then I CC me plant. I push the buttons on the on the planter, and it goes down. That's what they want to do, really. And if you disrupt that game plan early, as Maestresca successfully did a lot of the time, and you don't let them get to that point yet, that's a very effective strategy on how to deal with that.
I definitely agree. And to your point, Panahone held to only 4 of the first bloods in that map. So Maestresca doing a fantastic job of finding those opening picks and really securing the rounds after that. Now, Max, on the attack, Maestresca, massive change of pace. How did they really make that work, and how did they find those openings?
I think the main difference to take between those two maps is that Border is a map where it's very difficult to kind of control the entry engagements and kind of force them into your way, because attackers or because defenders will always be contesting such big portions of the map. You always have to worry about so much as an attacker that it just becomes more difficult to really isolate those entry gunfights and angles, because someone will always just swing out of another balcony, jump out of another window, and you can't really hold on all of those things if you also want to make progress into the map. Whereas Bank, you can be a little bit more selective on where you take your entry engagements. You can gather a little bit more information. It's easier to hide those drones. So you can just use those basics that Zuel was mentioning a lot more effectively on a map that's a little bit bigger like Bank. And we saw it go massively wrong as well, right? On the round, for example, where Jegs was hiding above. So it can go both ways, but it looks like Maestresca just had a little bit more of a grip on that second map to be able to do it. And I think Lair is another map where that kind of playstyle can be favored as well.
I definitely agree with you. Now, Grand Finals, Panahone versus Maestresca. Maestresca managed to take them to 3 maps and secure the win. Panahone, can they find their revenge? It wouldn't be any other way than a map 3. Casters, take us away.
Ladies And gentlemen, it is map 3 of our grand final. And we are heading back on over to Lair. We've seen both of these teams on it before, and it is time to get us rolling. The past 2 maps, they've happened there in the past. They no longer matter. It's all going to come down to this. Will we see an overtime? Will we see an unlimited overtime? Herka, here we go.
Here we go indeed. And we have MEISTERSCHAFT starting out on the defense this time. So we'll be looking forward to Panuhane's attacks, what they can do here, what MEISTERSCHAFT can do to stop them. We see that Montaigne ban coming out again. Clearly, MEISTERSCHAFT are a team that don't want Panuhane to play these operators. We do have a very strong shield identity on the side of Panuhane. So no Monte for them. Also no Snake that Yegs is very known to play. So information gathering ability kind of reduced, and for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, we see that double heart breach and ban going through. Very good on maps like Night Haven and Clubhouse, for example, that are very heavy on these breaches. But I've come to the belief that it's slightly less good on a map like Lair nowadays. Even though these breaches are very important, there's a lot of other problems that you have to deal with on Lair, and to get value out of these breaching operators, it's a little bit harder than on these other maps that this double breach and operator ban is so common on.
It definitely is, but at the same time, those breaches, especially on the top floor, can be so incredibly influential, because if you don't manage to get those 2 breaches open, you essentially have no way to go for that default plant, which is so successful. That's obviously also the reason we typically do see a lot of those plant deny operators being brought. This time, we don't actually see a Tachanka, which is a little bit surprising, because it is so proficient at stopping those plants. We also don't see a Goyo, which is another operator very frequently used to deny those plants. So none of those 2 fiery operators being brought here from the side of MEISTERSCHAFT on the first defense. They do have Evan on the Echo, though, an operator we typically see more on the basement side, but obviously being able to be very useful here as well, together with the Smoke of Rancor and Denster below here on that shotgun as well. He'll be looking to get active early on in the round, and if that plan works out the way that they have it set up, then it's going to be very difficult regardless for Panuhane to get that plan down, especially if Mateen takes out Rastin.
This is exactly what we talked about on the desk just a couple minutes before. MEISTERSCHAFT really looking to disrupt that plan of Panuhane before it even gets started. The easiest way to deal with an execute is have all the players who are about to execute dead before that even happens. And Mateen is clearly going for the game plan inside of operation right now with that Azami that stays unbanned. This is part of the reason why these Heartbeat bans aren't that influential, because then you have to deal with things like that Azami inside of operation, and that might be a little bit harder than you expect.
With a nice play there to cut off that verticality, but he doesn't pay too much attention to operational as he kind of gets locked into that gunfight with Lambe below. He did do his job to distract though there, and so Denser does manage to pick him off below. So he does definitely do something in the round, as Mezzanine has now been given up, and that allows Panuhane to go for that control to start working towards that plant. And with only 1 minute and 15 seconds off of the clock, they've done that in pretty good time. It did of course cost them 2 lives as well, Rastin not even making it all too close to the building. Well, Lambe, as we'd already discussed, got distracted and got taken out by Denster, who's now moved himself back up to the spiral stairs. As Nickes, he's going to slowly start approaching the crosshair here of Riddick, who's playing on the staircase. Flashbang coming through. Jegs managing to take out Denster. The secondary flashbang as well, not quite managing to pick up a second kill here, but that is main stairs control established, as Panuhane are slowly working their way towards that execute.
Slowly but surely, and in terms of executing operators, we of course have that Smoke with 3, Smoke and Toxic Babe still in pocket, and Evan on the Echo. Another one who could have denied that plant should he still be alive is Denser on that Solis. Unfortunately, he did get caught out early, but should he have survived a little bit longer, he could have gone downstairs and stopped that plant from below, as Solis does see where the plant is going on her gadget at all times. That strategy, however, is no longer available for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. Nor is playing Azami in that desk position that we discussed at length already. So it's all really down to that Smoke and down to that Echo Cam in the hands of Evan.
Especially considering these Smoke Toxic Babes are being utilized quite early on for Plant Deny. At least he only has 1 left in pocket. That's going to be thrown out here as well now. And so that will no longer be an option either. But it looks like Panuhane wants to go for the kill here. They swing around and pick off Evan here in the security position. That's the downside of playing for that Echo Cam Deny. You have 1 operator that is locked into cams pretty permanently. Riddick is now also closed out. And Nifsu manages to pick off the last kill here as well onto the Smoke. And so that's going to be a first attacking round here for the side of Panuhane. And they managed to deny all of those plant deny options just by pushing through for the kills and getting the frags when they needed to.
That's the second time in this best of 3 that we've seen Evan be fully caught out unawares on that echo cam, driving it around and then just getting shot in the face by somebody he's not expecting to be there. It's a very not really a Panahona like round, as they didn't actually go for that execute. They decided, screw it, we're pushing for the kills now, and that was a very good strategy, as they did get a free pick on the Evan, and then the rest just followed under that man count disadvantage that they had. A very nice round from Panahona, a very nice try from MEISTERSCHAFT. But alas, that is now in the past, and we'll be heading down onto the basement for the second defense of MEISTERSCHAFT.
Absolutely. We did see this kind of problem coming out, especially for Packball. They call him Peter yesterday a few times when he was caught on those echo cams down on that basement site, especially. So it definitely isn't the first time that this has happened, and I mean, definitely not in the history of Siege. You know, I think at this point you can pretty confidently say everything has happened somewhere in the world before. But definitely something that they need to be aware of on the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. When you're in a 3 versus 3 situation, you don't necessarily want to take one of your operators and have them forced onto cams. And so this time we will not be seeing that Echo being brought out again, despite how strong he is to hold onto those filtration stairs. As we see a very aggressive roaming setup coming out here from the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, with Denster extending all the way down into bunk side. They're really contesting the entirety of this first floor here. Mateen getting a little bit active here as well around Rocket. He sees the shots coming through from Jegs, and he's going to want to go for that gunfight. Pre-fire coming through, taking a good amount of damage off Jegs, but not being able to confirm it before he dropped back down to the site.
If speaking of stylistic differences here, this is a very MEISTERSCHAFT type defense that we see coming through here. I've referenced that game that they had with the Spanish Inquisition a fair bit, that they lost a match on border.
Oh, no.
oh no, indeed, as we see Evan narrowly evading death here. But speaking of Evan in particular, he does love that Solus, particularly on this map, and he had a monster performance against the Spanish Inquisition. So this is an operator that he's very comfortable on, and a map that MEISTERSCHAFT do prefer going to when available, or in a decider like this. They are by no means afraid of this roam game, and they know how to do it quite well indeed.
Absolutely. One thing that I do find quite interesting here as Evan gets taken out is the operator and positional choices coming out from the side of MEISTERSCHAFT here. Evan is obviously typically one of the more brains of the operation, more than the brawns necessarily, or that kind of mechanical player that you expect. So putting him out on the roam really kind of indicates to me that MEISTERSCHAFT will be playing this to try and layer back and play more towards the side towards the end of the round. But losing out those players does make that whole process a little bit more difficult. 1 minute 30 off the clock here, and no real control towards that bottom floor established yet from Panahona. But if they manage to pick off even one more kill here on that roam, it's going to start looking really good for them, as Denster, he needs to fall back through these yellow stairs, the information being provided onto him through the death mark. And now most of the defenders from MEISTERSCHAFT have fallen back down to the site here. They will be playing up and around that basement. Denster taking a little bit more damage from that phone being poked, and that will allow Panahona to create this verticality. Now Rastin and Jegs will both be working on that, while Nikas also has breaching charges with him to be able to create a little bit more of these angles. That means that the players of MEISTERSCHAFT, they will be locked into connector here unless they really want to challenge into these verticals. If they manage to pick off 1 or 2 here while countering back this verticality, it'll be really good for them. But at the same time, they could just as easily lose out some more players, and then it's going to be looking really tough.
The risk reward thing with these heavy roaming setups is that if that roam happens to fail, there's not much that you can fall back on, barring that Goyo from Ranker being the only type of plant denial that you have. Maybe a Thorn Gadget from the side of Mateen, as we see Ranker actually going down to the Yegs, with Mateen trading him out in this connector position. Fires going out from the side of Capital, and connector now cleared. MEISTERSCHAFT are pushed into very unfavorable positions right now in a 1 versus 4 situation against the attack of Panahona. Mateen on low HP, 1 trap in his pocket, and with it all to do in 7 seconds.
Does manage to down 1 using his trap, doesn't quite manage to confirm the second kill. He has to switch to a secondary weapon to be able to deny anything. The plant was also going down in the meantime, but it does mean that a secondary attacking round will be going the side of Panahona here. And as we said, this is the very last map that we have already. So whoever manages to win it out here, they will be taking the grand final. They will be taking the win. They will be taking the biggest portion of the prize pool, as well as those T2 circuit points that are so desirable for these teams. Panahona obviously already having a good solid chunk of change in their pockets from that combined win, and also other secondary T2 tournaments where they are performing very well, with some more grand finals coming soon around the circuit. But they will be looking to confirm as many of the points as they can. And so this game does mean just as much to them as it would to any other team playing here. And you can really tell that they want to make sure that they leave nothing on the table here after this game. They do not want to go to bed tonight with any regrets. And one thing that we speak about a lot as coaches is the difference between playing to win and playing not to lose, right? a lot of teams will kind of play in a way where they try to avoid risk as much as possible, and they really just want to not lose rounds. But that does also mean that you are playing much safer than usual, and you're not taking as many risks. We spoke yesterday with Zua about the risk that Hungry took in the very last round that they played on this map, where he just jumped into filtration with the Monty to knock out the mirror window. It didn't work out in that situation, but he showed cojones, as Zua called it back in that situation, really just showing that he has the experience and he knows that sometimes you have to make plays that are unfavorable to try and go for the win. That's something that I'm missing from MEISTERSCHAFT here a little bit at the moment. It looks like they're just trying to be a little bit too safe with a lot of these things.
Especially as well, we know like players like Mateen and Denster are fully capable of going for those types of plays and pulling them off at a very consistent rate, might I add, as well. They're very phenomenal players, particularly when it comes to that gun skill. So we know that they're capable to swing for the fence. But the thing is, like, if you don't swing high, you'll never hit that home run. And I do think I agree with you on the fact that MEISTERSCHAFT are maybe just not trying to lose this one. Maybe they've lost a little bit of confidence, even though they got that their opponent's map pick of Bank. But Panahuane got in 2 rounds already on this attacking side of Lair, and Lair indeed is a defense-sided map, as we often like to talk about the sidedness of these maps. So
while manage to get... Oh, go on.
No, go ahead.
Denster does manage to get an entry pick here with the C4, but Mateen will be down here trying to hold on to this operational side of the map. He will get confirmed now as well by Nikus, and so the man advantage will be brought back. A little bit of damage also going towards that ace here, so the HP advantage will still be on the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. 1 minute 30 left on the clock to work with here. As Ghost Riddick, he's playing around that master bedroom, around that kind of top mezzanine position as well, while Lambe, he will be working his way downstairs to clear out that position. Denster moving into an aggressive position into bathroom here. Dex is on that rappel. He will try and hold on any rotations, but he thinks better of it as he rotates away. 3 defenders of MEISTERSCHAFT are now stacked into this hallway. Information cannot be gathered because of that placement of the mute jammer, and so he will have to drop back down, use the flashbangs to get any information, but the jump out comes through from Ghost Riddick, and even though the flashbang did manage to hit him just a little bit, he will not be able to confirm that kill. Swing coming through now as well from Lambe, but Evan confirms him and gets another for his troubles. Rastin gets the refrag, but it's all up to Nikus now, who swings through, manages to get the first here onto Denster. There's 2 more defenders left on the side of MEISTERSCHAFT that he will have to claim.
Minute left is 17. Shumiha is in the pocket of Ranker. Tatranka being a very, very, very commonly used operator inside this matchup on MEISTERSCHAFT overall, as Ranker does get the last pick onto Nick AS, but that was seemingly very hopeless for that Panahuane round. 1 versus 2 against heavy utility on that top floor side didn't quite seem likely, and MEISTERSCHAFT claimed their first round on this half.
Very well played there by MEISTERSCHAFT, finally getting their foothold. Also important here because a 3rd attacking round for Panahuane would have definitely been dangerous, as it would have allowed them just to kind of get even more of a foothold here on the unfavored side that you would think. As we see Deimos and Mira banned out, 2 operators that you do typically see removed later on in these games just because they do offer so much utility. That is Solid Snake and Deimos both removed for the side of Panahuane, only leaving the Dokkaebi as one of that holy trinity of information gathering operators. Of course, you do still have operators like the Lion and the Jackal on the side of the attack, which can be played, but those are typically not picked quite as often.
No, Jackal does not see a lot of play, even though I do know that there are some in the production team that maybe wish he would. Turns out that character is still really, really bad after the nerfs he received, I believe, last year. even with grenades added to his loadout, it's just not worth that pick when you can have Dokkaebi or Snake or Deimos that do it all and do it way better, might I add. But hey, we're heading back down to the basement side. And interesting, MEISTERSCHAFT not deciding to go for that tertiary side of bunks at all in this in their half thus far, even with all of these bans coming through and that information gathering.
No, Jegs, no, Jegs, no, stop, Jegs, no.
Jegs is clearly listening to the podcast.
I'm sorry, I didn't
to the
want to
stream.
interrupt you, but
well, Jegs has decided to play that that operator that we just talked about being really bad, but I do hope he has some success for it. As I said, the production team would like to see this, so I'm hoping Jegs gets an ace here, so we'll never have to talk about Jackal ever again on the stream.
I will leave mid-cast if Jegs gets an ace on Jackal. I will leave cast mid-stream. I actually don't care. I will do it. And the way he's sneaking through here right now makes it look like he's going to get... What is happening?
Lambe clearly deciding that that Jegs is throwing and deciding to put him down, with Jegs actually leaving the game in the middle of this game. So I do expect we'll be heading into a a tech pause maybe here at some point. This is a fever dream if I've ever seen one. Just an absolutely ridiculous round, and I no longer have any idea what is going on.
Well, for the remainder of the round, at least, Nifsu and Nikis, they're going to have to clutch out a 2 versus 5 situation here. A few shots coming out towards Evan, who's contesting the bottom of the blue staircase here. Those shots won't be able to find his head just yet as an impact grenade comes through. More shots being missed as Nifsu has to swing around to get the flanker of him. Nikis does manage to pick off Ghost Riddick, but the shotgun of Evan, he will be able to find Capital of Nifsu. There's a few shots coming through here. Nikis not quite finding the head, and Evan with a 2-piece managing to close out this, well, fever dream of a round, as you called it already. I don't know if production has the capabilities of it, but can we get like action replays of the camera of Erebos when the Jackal got picked and then when he got removed from the server? Because I think that would almost be more interesting than what happened during the round there.
Well, at least we do know what Lambe thinks of that pick, as he swiftly deleted Jax out of the server, metaphorically and quite literally, not seeing the Jackal pick come on through anymore. I think that was just a charity round for MEISTERSCHAFT. Maybe Panahoone decided that they needed a little bit of help and gifted a generous, gracious defense round for them, as we do see the tertiary side actually coming through this time.
We do finally move down to that bunk site here. It's a site that is technically the tertiary site, but some of the teams do definitely have a preference when it comes to defending it. You typically see a lot of that verticality being contested. No Warden being brought this time from the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, as they deem him not necessary when it comes to the ability to deny the plant. As long as you keep that Solus alive, that is definitely an approach that you can take as well, because that Solus, it can see through the sense walls as well if that operator does get picked. That is something that Warden can no longer do in a wave of recent changes that came through to improve operators like the Sense, for example. As we see that rotation also being closed off later on in the round after the prep phase, to kind of bait Panahoone into thinking that maybe the extension that MEISTERSCHAFT is playing is a little bit more aggressive than it actually is. Evan will be starting on these main central stairs to get a little bit of information on the operators that are being picked by the side of Panahoone, but they do remove that default cam as well to take away that information as we start moving into this 5th attacking round.
The thing about the Solus, as we did see back on border with, I do believe Evan playing that same operator, is that while it does counter the smokes and that that sense wall, as you just said, if you get ying down on that top floor, which is, mind you, very much possible on this layer, you don't even have to really get inside of the building. You can throw those yings in to R6 room from that art window. So a very easily yingable position. And if you're completely blind, again, there's the gadget is fairly useless at that point, since you can't see what you're looking at anyway.
Absolutely, and that is something that did become very, very apparent for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT on Bank, and so they will be hoping that that doesn't repeat again. Obviously, no Ying on board this time, but maybe Nifsu has a little bit of tech hidden for us. Maybe he's figured out a way to put his shield on his back to put down the plant and also flashbang the operator looking down from above at the same time. That would definitely be a first for me. Maybe some blitz buffs coming through once that new operator comes through. As Denster, he goes for a very aggressive angle here. Mateen taking out Jegs, he swings through and doesn't quite manage to pick up the blitz, but Mateen, he'll be swinging around with him and does manage to confirm him. So while Ranker and Mateen both get downed now, I was going to say it's an advantage for MEISTERSCHAFT, but it's spun around to the other way really, really quickly. Denster gets taken out by Nikis as well, and now it's only Ghost Riddick left on this top green position here, but there is an upside down repel from Lambe. He will be holding on to him, and if Riddick wants to push on through, he's going to have to do so more effectively as he gets put down to 1 HP as he looks to drop down. Drone there to spot him out as well. Plant will be put down by Raston as Nifsu has been taken out, so the primary planter of the side of Panahoone will no longer be present, and Nikis swings around and confirms the kill onto Ghost Riddick to get that third attacking round that they were looking for, which puts them in a very strong position here when it goes to that round swap.
Very strong position indeed. That blitz buff would be a very nice idea, you know, putting that shield on your pack and having it be a little bit of flashlight flashing people while it is on your back. Turns out that blitz is not really needed for the side of Panahoone, actually, as they just get the kills and confirm the plant anyway without the assistance of Nifsu on the blitz. As he did get taken down very early. But as you said, a nice advantage inside of Panahoone. 3 rounds on the attack guarantee. That is above par for this map in particular, as we do expect a 4-2 split for the side of defense on layer. Maybe not 5-1 would be kind of pushing it, I think, but I think a 4-2 is a fair expectation on a map like this. So 3 is above par as we head back up to that top floor side. MEISTERSCHAFT not wanting to repeat that tertiary side of bunks and briefing, as they lost it quite badly there. Clearly Panahoone having a good idea how to attack that side.
Absolutely, I do think it's a good choice for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT to return back to this top floor here. Evan, he will be moving his way over onto the Clash. We still do not see a Tachanka here. The Clash definitely a little bit more powerful when it comes to holding out operational than the Azami is. You know, the Azami is still one of the most preferred operators when it comes to playing into that position. Ranka has moved his way over onto the Goyo as well, so we see at least one of that dynamic duo that we speak about so many times on this top floor. Jegs will return to this bathroom window position that he plays on so very, very frequently, looking to get a little bit more of an impact than he did in the round before. Nifsu will be opening up control towards operational as well, but he will be met with that Clash relatively shortly, and so he might have to think of a different point of entry here, as Blackfield versus Clash usually only has one way of ending.
Usually being the key word here. I hate to keep bringing it up, but we've seen some insane things here on MEISTERSCHAFT, so you can never count out either team here, actually, as Panohane have managed to bring back very, very seemingly lost rounds already. But this is technically the best side for the side of the defense here, so we'll be looking forward to MEISTERSCHAFT maybe picking up the third round that is very sorely needed. If Panohane get a 4-2 lead, that would be very, very bad for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT indeed, and I do believe I have cast a cursed Evan to losing his shield and losing his life shortly afterwards, that as we see Ghost Riddick pick up a knife kill, Mateen picking one up on the Jegs, and Nikas equalizing onto Ghost Riddick.
The shield being knifed is typically not something that you see. Obviously, it can't be done in the reverse anymore since the way that shields have been changed. They are no longer able to confirm any kills with their shields themselves. They could, of course, still put them onto their back to get the kill. But alas, this time it will be it will be Ghost Riddick here on the Ella taking that knife kill over onto Nifsu. He does get refragged though as well, meaning that there is no man advantage specifically for MEISTERSCHAFT. But with Nikas so low on HP, you can almost count him out. Of course, that gun does still do damage. So if he manages to find the head of someone, he will still be able to turn the tides here. Lambe, he will be getting caught in that FNAP mine, and so he has to back up just a tiny little bit to be able to clear that position out. But for the time being, we have 1 more minute on the clock here. Denster still holding onto this top main stairs position is going to become a bit of a problem for Panohane if they don't have an effective way to clear him out.
Bit of a problem indeed. There's still also one Goyo canister in the pocket of Ranker, so should he get that down, placed near the breach, near the default path, maybe even near the door if he's brave enough. But still 25 seconds off the clock, of 40 seconds still available for the side of Panohane. So they'll have to get the move on real quick here if they wish to secure that plant, or they should go for these kills as they did that one round on this top floor attack that was quite successful for them actually.
Absolutely. Smokes Toxic Babes coming out now to deny that main stairs position. He will have none more left in his pocket. The fire coming through to clear him out. And so that's going to allow Rastin to push up the staircase here to take that gunfight. But the shotgun close is going to become a bit of a problem. However, Denster doesn't consider that Lambe is also present. Nika is managing to pick off Ranker. 6 seconds left to go now. Mateen here gets hit by the flashbang, and Lambe confirms him out. That means it's a 4-2 split on the attack here for the side of Panohane. That's exactly where they want to be, but if you're MEISTERSCHAFT, you might be starting to shake a little bit here.
Might be starting to shake. We've seen still some more ridiculous things. So there's never say never. MEISTERSCHAFT could still come back from this deficit, but it is let's call it what it is. It is a very, very important round deficit for or round bonus for the side of Panohane. They got more than they actually wanted, more than they're expected to get on those attacking rounds, and now they're heading into their own defensive half in a very comfortable spot. Actually, MEISTERSCHAFT is under pressure here to start getting these rounds. Should they let even 1 or 2 slip away, they're looking at a very decisive score.
Absolutely. We're seeing the Cade being taken out here, and Bandit will join him as well, as we see Ace and Deimos removed for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT for their attacking half, as they will need to find a different solution to those breaches. Mira is still open, of course, so that might make the main breach a little bit of a challenging position here for Denster, should he be sticking to Thermite. But it looks like we won't be seeing that Mira trick being played early on here in those first rounds. Monty, of course, still open for Evan, so he will find his way onto that very, very quickly, as I assume that this is a lineup that is quite likely to stick. And as I say that, Mateen switches out over onto the Buck. But for the defensive side of Panohane, we are seeing a pretty aggressive lineup as well here. We're seeing that Solus approach in the same way as Denster did it for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. And we're also seeing Nikas on that Echo. Did not work out for MEISTERSCHAFT, as Evan was isolated in that position where Jegs is standing very right now in server, as he got taken out in that 3 versus 3 round, being stuck on his cams. Nikas will be hoping that he has a little bit more luck when he plays that operator in the very same round.
Well, indeed, we also see Jegs on that Solus that you mentioned. maybe going for these earlier picks, but it's a very still non-standard lineup for this top floor of Blair. Still no Goyo, no Tachanka that we usually see on this map. We do still have the smokes from Rostin and the other Plantanel here, and some C4 maxing coming in from Nifsu, should that be required, as he is on the first floor right now inside of reception. So we'll have to see how Panuhana decide to deal with this push from MEISTERSCHAFT that seems quite execute focused with Evan on that copy tower. Mateen looking forward to getting some verticality done in and some heavy flank watch as well.
That flank watch could become incredibly beneficial in the round, but Evan taken out early here by Jegs. That is, once again, that Solis doing so much work, while Rastin does lose a good amount of HP on that upside down repel position against Ranker as well, but he does get away with his life, and so that won't be quite as detrimental as it is for Evan here. Mateen is still down below. He will be looking to take out that roaming presence of Jegs, which he has shown already. But it does mean that he just needs to be so much more careful, and Jegs doesn't currently look like he will be going for that gunfight down below, as he's looking to pressure out Ghost Riddick here, who's playing on the Nomad up above. He's going to have to go for a swing here. There needs to be some way to clean out this man advantage. The swing comes around here. He does manage to find the refrag. That enables Mateen now to go for that verticality again. It takes off a lot of pressure from the side of MEISTERSCHAFT. He has wasted 1 minute and 20 seconds. So it does give them a good foothold in this defense. Verticality coming through now. No one playing close on the breach. So that can be opened by Denster now. Breach being opened up, as I said. Lambe deciding not to swing out and peek it for the time being. With 1 minute 30 to go now, there is no proper control within the building now, but a lot of the things that are needed for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT have been established.
MEISTERSCHAFT are in a pretty nice position, but I would still argue that even man count like this, losing the capital is way more important than losing Jegs on that Solis. I think Panuhana won out in that interaction in particular, as we see Lambe just barely sneaking through of that no matchup with Denster getting the trade out, but still that is a very important flank watch operator, as we see Nikkei swing onto Mateen, Nifsu getting one on the shot, onto Denster, shotgun singing out, and we have Ranker with all to do here. 50 seconds on the clock, and we're looking at a quite probable 2-5 scoreline for the side of Panuhana right now, putting them in a very nice spot, unless Ranker pulls some absolutely insane heroics out from thin air right now.
Yeah, the shotgun's putting in absolute work here. And when you look at it like that, it might be a bit more of a sniper rifle, actually, than a shotgun. I didn't realize that they'd buffed Echo to have slugs, just like the TCSG, but I guess you learn something new every day. As the more you believe in the shotguns, I think you said it 2 days ago, the more you believe in the shotguns, the more they believe back into you. So Panuhana will be taking a 3-round advantage here against MEISTERSCHAFT, exactly where they want to be. And not only do they have 2 rounds to win this map, but they also only have 2 rounds to win the series. And by winning the series, we all know what that means. It means that you will be winning this season of the MEISTERSCHAFT. It is looking more and more likely by the second that the Finns will be continuing their dominant reign throughout the T2 scene that started all the way at the beginning of last year, since when they have been really that prominent force here. And something to note as well, they are not playing with their full lineup. Rastin is coming in here. He's obviously been playing quite a lot with these guys. He's been in and out of that team, especially when players like Halver or players like Jegs have been making their short stints within T1 rosters. He's always been that player to come in here, and he's been a very solid addition to the team here, really putting in a good amount of work. And you can't really see a big drop-off in quality here from players like Halver to someone like Rastin, who hasn't been playing as much recently, but definitely can still keep up at this level.
Oh, definitely, and there's a reason why Rostin has been playing in this roster for that amount of time. Of course, Halva being unavailable for today, but that really hasn't hampered Panuhana all that much. We keep talking about players like Jegs and Halva, who have had stints inside of Tier 1 on Fnatic, I do believe. But I do think that the standout player for the side of Panuhana in this entire tournament has been Nikkei. Like that sort of performance, that consistency on a variety of operators, variety of roles has just been fantastic to witness here. And as he's really putting in the work even in this map, going 11-2 right now, putting some ampy score lines outside of Panuhana, as we see another vector for the side of Lambe getting rid of Ghost Riddick.
Ghost Riddick having a bit of an opposite experience here to Nikkei, not really finding any footing in this map, same as Ranker as well. And really the majority of MEISTERSCHAFT, they've been struggling to find anything on the map of Lair, not being given anything by Panuhana as well. They're really not making it easy. as Evan starts pushing through on the shield here, together with some supporting teammates. Jags is going to have to fall back because of those flashbangs being placed at his feet as he turns his phone off, and Nikes manages to find Mateen, the one other player besides Evan that has really been at least keeping neutral here on the scoreboard. And while that doesn't mean anything, when you have so many players so incredibly negative, it definitely doesn't bode well here. Verticality being challenged by Ranka, a little bit more damage done onto Lambe, but not enough still, as Evan is taking a lot more hits, and Ranka also cleaned out here, and it's going from bad to worse to Panohone, as if they don't find themselves around here very soon, the game will be over.
The 2-6 match point for Panohone looking more and more likely as we are in a 5 versus 2 right now inside of this round, with Denster and Evan having all to do, but still not quite looking good, even if Denster and Evan are very, very experienced and very, very capable players. They've seen these sorts of situations before, and as we all know, if you guys watched yesterday's stream, Denster can frag out should he be given the opportunity to do so, but I'm not sure Panohone will be giving that opportunity, as they still have plenty of time denial, plenty of plant denial left, and Lambe on the verticals up above, I do believe. No, he has just come back down from yellow stairs, so no verticality available, but still time is running low for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, and they need to get a move on if they want to win this round.
Yeah, absolutely do. Dens does find one, but Lambe has found a flankable position, and so he manages to take him out. Now it's only Evan left on the shield, and he will be surrounded by all remaining players of Panohone. He will not be able to find anyone, and that would have been an absolutely incredible clutch if he'd somehow managed to play aim labs with the skulls of the approaching Panohone players, but no can do for him, as he is also taken out. And Panohone put them not only on map point, not only on series point, but all the way to MEISTERSCHAFT point.
The fabled MEISTERSCHAFT point, as we do see MEISTERSCHAFT taking the timeout, in my opinion, a little bit too late to the party. I think this timeout is long overdue, and taking it on the MEISTERSCHAFT point is it's unlikely to work, as they have to be flawless from now on this half to actually go to overtime, which is unlimited. So they still have a chance to get themselves into this game, but it is, as I like to say, statistically kind of unlikely.
I think at this point we can say that it's more than just statistically unlikely. I think we can even go beyond statistically improbable. I wouldn't quite go as far as to say impossible, because we definitely have seen more shocking comebacks throughout the season. And honestly, it wouldn't be the MEISTERSCHAFT if we didn't somehow manage to get to an overtime from this position. That would really fulfill the prophecy to its absolute maximum. Sure, we're not playing on Consulate, so you know what, you'll have to go with it from there. But we are really seeing Panohone show off their dominance here. They gave away one map, and at this point, maybe you do make it feel like that was a little bit of a pity map. Obviously, you don't want to take anything away from MEISTERSCHAFT in the performance that they showed there, but they really are showing their class here. They really are showing that they are the team to beat, as I've said so many times. And at the moment, it looks like MEISTERSCHAFT just don't have what it takes to be that team to beat them.
Well, at this moment, it doesn't look like that, but as I also like to say never. This is still, the game isn't over until it is over. Panohone can still very much lose this, even if it is, as you said, statistically improbable on this MEISTERSCHAFT point, which is a sentence that I do very much like, and will be incorporating into my vocabulary from now on. But we're heading back up to this top floor. With Evan on the shields, with heavy emphasis on that plan, on that breaching that planting, as we see two, actually no, not on the top floor. My apologies. We are heading to the tertiary site for Panohone right now, which explains that that sense pick and that heavy emphasis on execute utility against the defense.
It definitely does. We see Ranka opening up that breach early on here. The shield of Evan will be working to make pressure above, as we do see Rastin over on that Solus, the operator that we have spoken about so many times here, being able to deny the plant if the sense does roll his walls through. So it looks like it will be the plan for Ghost Riddick to do so here, as Evan is starting to make his approach towards green. He needs to be aware of those head holes, which do provide a very long angle from the bottom of blue stairs, as well as those thorn mines, which can do so much damage to the attacking side. Ghost Riddick, he takes a little bit of damage here from that fiery pipe, which has been added in the recent updates, of course. And as well, Jags here on the site, that lonesome player. We see a flank coming through as well from Nefsu. He manages to pick up Ranker, and it's an entry kill on the very first round, for the very worst round, sorry, for MEISTERSCHAFT.
That is exactly the opposite of what you want to see here. You are already down so many rounds. You are already facing the grand finals, possibly your last round in the tournament, and a possible victory for Panuhane. You do not want Ranker to go 1-7 on Thermite of all characters and lose that early.
You definitely don't. Zevin does manage to find the kill back onto Jags. It's only 1 minute to go now as they need to start working their way onto site. Mateen feeling the wrath of the verticals, and he's being pushed out by Nifsu as well, close on here. He does think better of it and fall back here, while we do see Lambe fighting for that top floor control, making sure that there's no flank coming through onto him. Nifsu is going to fall all the way back here to be able to turn his phone off back to as much security as he can find for the time being. This vertical is really going to become a problem as the Thermite is off the board. That's no more smokes, and Mateen has also now been gone. The smokes that do come out get caught by the MEISTERSCHAFT, and we do finally see those sense walls being placed, but they're not quite where they need to be. And you do, of course, still have the Solus above, who will be able to deny any of those plants that try to come through. Ghost Riddick, he's going to put it down now. The Shield of Denster will be trying to cover it, but Nifsu managed to pick off Denster. He's the covering player. And so Ghost Riddick, he's going to go off the plant, but Nifsu, he's already left completely. He just created that pressure and then left. Evan's taking a good amount of damage from the impact here as well. They're going to have to try and clear Nifsu out here, but he is just legging it. 20 seconds left to go here. Nikkes picks off Ghost Riddick, and Lambe finishes off Evan. And despite the trade, that won't be it. Ladies and gentlemen, your MEISTERSCHAFT champions, Panuhane, win it out on map 3.
A very, very decisive victory for the Finns on that last map. It seemed a little bit shaky on their own map of Bank, but the Finns, my countrymen, they do get it done on Lair, and they do get themselves that cash prize. They do get themselves that glory, those tier 2 points, those bragging rights that they are indeed the MEISTERSCHAFT champions. A good game was played here. All of my condolences to MEISTERSCHAFT. They played fantastically, but just couldn't get it over the line on that last map. Panuhane, they are the champions.
Very, very well played from both teams here, bringing it all the way to map 3. But at the very end, Panuhane were just too strong as we see those remnants of the execute coming through from MEISTERSCHAFT again to shut down expertly from the side of Panuhane. It just wasn't enough at the end of the day. Hosts, talk to us.
Yes, that was an absolutely fantastic map. And I mean, Panuhane, they did a fantastic job. They kind of let it slip on Bank, Sua, but Lair, I mean, they were just a completely different animal.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this game was, I think Lair was like really anticlimactic, to be honest. Like I expected it to be like closer and more high octane, but it almost felt like that after like the second round, MEISTERSCHAFT kind of like internally gave up and just giving in on what is happening, kind of like how the last round on Bank played out. So yeah, like I don't know what to really take away from it. It was just like a pure show of dominance from the side of the Finnish guys. So, and I'm pretty sure I will hear the most famous Torille thingy and waving the Finnish flag from the Finnish guys on Twitter for the rest of the week. And yeah, what can I say? Nice try, Dan. Not this time again.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But sounds like we're gonna have an interview. Nikke, how are you feeling after that match, after the grand finals win? All right, just hold on. I think we're just trying to get production set up for the interview. Get it ready on our end. I can hear Nikke's, but I guess nobody else can on stream. But while we wait for production, just to clarify everything is ready. Zua, that final map, we saw Panuhane change the pace quite extensively. How do you think that that everything ended up turning out for the side of Panuhane, and what really went wrong with MEISTERSCHAFT?
I think like this change of pace really shows like most teams in tier 2, they are good at one thing and one thing only. But once you get into the level of being closer to tier 1, you start to like also adapt different play styles. And I think Panuhane just really showed that they should be in tier 1 at some point. Like they can play it slow, they can play it fast. Like they really can just do whatever it needs to win. Whereas other teams are just like still trying to figure it out, still trying to find their way of playing. And you most often end up in the situation where tier 2 is only like a pretty short time frame. in the year, and teams are most often new. They don't really stick together. So if you stick together and just figure out how to play the game as a five-man group, you can start to do these more fancy things. Like some teams just do like the shield stuff. Some teams do the stuff that we already mentioned a couple times, the Ling, the Glass, etc. But Panhune just can do it all. And I think that's the difference make on why they are so much better currently than most teams in Tier 2. But I don't want to ramble for too long, and we can hear it from Mr. Nikis.
Yep, let's get into this interview. All right. And okay, Nikke, now everybody can hear you. How are you feeling after the grand final?
I'm feeling great. Always want to win, and that's what we come here to do every day.
Yeah, for sure. And we have somebody on our broadcast that is maybe a little bit more biased towards Maestro Eska. And I just want to hear your thoughts about maybe the difference in support staff, because you guys seemed very, very well prepared, especially on Lair, whereas Maestro Eska maybe, I guess, not as ready for what you guys were bringing to the table here.
Of course, we try to prepare for every match, but of course, there's matches pretty much every day. We can't prep too much for each match, but we try to make our own game so good that even if they know what we are doing, they can't really react to it, or they can't crack it out. So I think that's something we do really well, and that's really the biggest part of how we win our matches.
Yeah, and you've been here before, winning tournaments. You just won Combine. Now you've won the MEISTERSCHAFT. Is this going to continue for you guys? Are we going to see any Tier 1 poaches, or are you guys in it for the long haul?
Everyone's enjoying the Tier 2. There's a lot to play, and we're just having fun here. So maybe Tier 1, I don't know, but for now we're enjoying ourselves here.
Yeah, and I just want to make this announcement. You have been voted by production for the MVP of the finals. Congratulations on that. Obviously, the win is more important, so congratulations on the win. Do you have anything you want to say to all your fans out there? Because the fans are loving your performances.
Of course, love the fans, everyone who's tuning in to watch our games and hyping in the chat. That's really the reason we're playing here every day. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the wonderful interview as always, and congratulations on the win. So have a good night, get some rest, and we'll see you in the next tournaments.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Max, thoughts and feelings on Nikke's answers? Do you think that I feel like he was a little humble there in that interview.
I've just been told that I was muted on the stream, so that's fantastic. All of this yapping for nothing. Long story short, basically, he's a fantastic person to speak to. He doesn't give away too much information. He has to give so many winning interviews that he's really perfected the art of doing that. Panhune, fantastic team, really good at adapting, even though they play the same strats over and over again. Fantastic team, fantastic players. Thumbs up all around.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Now, Sua, what did you think about Panu, about Nikke, about that MVP? Talk to me about how Nikke was able to do it and be so dominant throughout.
Oh, I think it's just what he said. Like, they just don't care too much about what the opponent is doing, just play their own game. We touched on it yesterday. I think that's also one of the things that all of these like map dominance eras that we had in the last like 10 years of Siege have in common. At some point, you don't really care anymore what the opponent does because you have seen it all. Like you're playing a certain set, they're trying to come up with a counter. You play against like twice, and then you figure it out as well. So at some point, no matter what the opponent throws at you, you will just be fine and will be able to deal with it. I think we have seen it countless times on Clubhouse. We have seen it on Oregon. We've seen it on Chalet with FaZe. Like, I think in general, these teams, and the more proficient you get on the map, the less you care about what other teams do, and you just play your own game. And I think that just pays testament on what Panahun is really much doing. Like he said, they're pretty much playing an official every single day. So you don't really have that much time at the moment, like especially during that time where you are playing tier 2 tournament after tier 2 tournament, the secondary circuit is going on, Combine just finished, Rumble is coming, like all of that stuff just happening and over again, and then it's next to qualifier. So at some point you really need to ask yourself the question, do we really want to like focus on what the opponent is doing, or do we just perfect on what we are doing?
Now, Hacker, that final map of Lair, we saw Panaone be so extremely dominant, minus a couple of rounds where they maybe kind of ran into the map and just happened to die without really doing much of anything. But break down exactly what the difference was for Panaone to be able to secure map number 3 so efficiently.
Well, I can tell you what the difference wasn't, and that was Jegs playing that Jackal being deleted by his own teammate. But what I do think really it came down to those attacks of having a really non-Panuhana type of playstyle. I think like you expect that team to go for the plants. They open the walls. They go for that plant. But no, a lot of what you saw on that top floor was them actually pushing for kills throughout that bathroom side, that art side. And I don't think that's something that, especially Evan on that Echo sitting inside of servers, just holding cams, really expected. He didn't expect them to push that far, to go for these kills, but expected that front side type execute to come through. And I think that was really just a curveball that Panuhana threw out. And once they got that 4-2 half on their attack, I think the game was set from there, as they are very strong on that map. And it is a very defense-sided map. So I think the game was already sealed in that half swap.
All right. Now, Sua, a little bit of a different angle here, but are we thinking just carrying on as usual for Panaone, just winning it out? Or maybe a little bit more of an underperformance out of MEISTERSCHAFT, because they went all the way through that upper bracket and we expected them maybe to put up a little bit more of a fight on the third map? Or are Panaone just that good?
I think Panahun is just that good. Like, first up, like they are just that good. But also, MEISTERSCHAFT didn't really get like tested the way Panahun got tested. Like we spoke about it briefly before the first map started. Every game that Panahun played in the lower bracket could have been the final. Like they played against the best team of the tournament, and MEISTERSCHAFT kind of had like more of a chill time apart from the upper bracket final to go through into the grand final. So there could also have been like some false sense of security, like, hey, we are through the upper bracket, we are in the grand final already. And the MEISTERSCHAFT is not a tournament where, especially with like all of the other tier 2 tournaments as well, where you have that safety. Like as soon as you're in the final, it's basically a clean sheet for everyone. So I don't know, like either it's Panahune that needs it, they need the pressure of dropping out to perform well, so they just prefer the lower bracket. But I would say it's more of a false sense of security on MEISTERSCHAFT side. But one thing that really needs to be pointed out is like I think Dan played really well from what we've seen in the last couple of days. Like I don't like to say it on broadcast, but Dan is really good at the moment. I think he's playing his best Siege he did in the last like 18 months. So big shout out to him. And yeah, I think, like I said, Panahun is just that good, and that should just send a message to everyone that is playing competitive. Don't disband. Keep playing. I have been saying it every single time I have a chance to ramble on broadcast. Don't disband. Just keep going. The next tournament is coming. No one cares that one of your friends goes 0-9. It doesn't matter. Just keep playing.
Eriker, do Panaone continue their winning ways in future tournaments?
Well, it may be a little bit of a biased answer, as we all know. I am Finnish here, and I do love to see my my countrymen succeeding here. So I do hope the best for them. But they've had a very, very mean streak, and I think they are the people to beat right now inside of Tier 2 in Europe. So I think every single team here, especially after this victory at MEISTERSCHAFT, that's the second consecutive victory inside of the Tier 2 circuit. First they win Combine and now MEISTERSCHAFT. So I think they'll have a little bit of a target on their back from now on. to see if they can actually be taken down, and they'll be considered the top dog of every tournament. And I think people will prep extra hard for that. So I think it'll be a hard year ahead for Pannuhana, especially going into those Tier 2 finals that are later on inside of this year. So we'll have to see.
Max, will MEISTERSCHAFT bounce back and get over the hurdle finally, take down the team they end up playing in the grand finals, whether it be Panu, whether it ends up being Turbini or a different team? Will they finally reach that apex and manage to secure a tournament?
You'd hope so, of course, right? They did really, really well in the previous T2 circuit as well, getting within 1 or 2 rounds of reaching Tier 1, actually, you know? So they got really close to it already. They had that taste of victory, and they fell at the final hurdle then as well. So it seems like maybe there's something that they need to work on when it comes to really just getting over that final little bit. They have shown throughout a lot of these tournaments that they definitely have the ability to dominate teams throughout Combine, throughout the entirety of the previous circuit, throughout this tournament as well. So it looks like it might just be that last little bit of mentality to get over that very final piece of the hurdle. But as soon as they get that puzzle together, I think they'll be on for some really, really good games as well.
I definitely agree with you there. And we could go about our podcast for hours talking about these teams, but fortunately, our time is up tonight. The grand finals winner, Pannuhana, taking down MEISTERSCHAFT in 2-1 fashion. Congratulations to all the teams. Thank you, production. Thank you, TD. Thank you, our wonderful observer, Vifi. And of course, thank you, Maxwell. Thank you, Eriker. Thank you, Sua. It was a wonderful time, and we'll see you next season.
Doing a whole bunch of damage to the side of MEISTERSCHAFT here, taking out that hard breach for Jegs. He managed to pick off Mateen, and so now it becomes a bit...
The early aggression really not working out in the favor of Pannuhana here, as Goldrick finishes out the round. But this is after Flambe avenges his teammates with getting Ranker off the board. That's B's gone, but still a man count advantage for
advantage situation here is Jegs also picks up Denster, and it's a 4 start to the round here for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT, but it's Unhorn definitely Pannuhana within the building now, but a lot of the things that are needed for the side of MEISTERSCHAFT have been established. And as well, Jake's here on the side, that lonesome player. You see a flank coming through as well from Nefsu. He manages to pick up Franco here, or the Maestro getting taken out from Evan, and now to 1 vs 1. Mateen is so low as well. It's only going to be 1 bullet needed. But
MEISTERSCHAFT along with that Zofia from Ranker get rid of the zombie barricade.
Here in the wall bang at the end of the round, but losing out those players does make that whole process a little bit more difficult. 1 minute 30 off the clock here. No real control towards that.
But together again.
Looks like MEISTERSCHAFT will be ignoring the top floor for large portions of this map as we see a run out from Lambe giveaway. He confirms him as well, and it's a flawless round here for MEISTERSCHAFT. Another defensive round here, maybe not what we expected, but MEISTERSCHAFT. So now Riddick, he's going to have to try and go for a swing around here. He only has 28 seconds left, and he looks away with his dinner plate. LNG finishing off the round here as well. Mateen not able to confirm a second kill for himself. So we will be seeing those 2 minutes.
Actually going 0-5 before this one, getting 2 kills. Evan inside, Ranker getting 1 from Square as well. And Rustin picking 1 on the Ranker, Evan getting 1 into the 1 versus...
Become a very dangerous role here as he manages to swing through and kill Lambe. Rustin does get the refrag. It does simplify the round and find a kill for their trouble, so they did get something out of it at least. They managed to find a second here as well as Denster. He gets taken out on this round, leaving only...
Crossing ACOG versus ACOG Violence. Ranker on very, very low HP.